Chapter 3057. Yuan Sect. Lin Sun's main body was cultivating. Suddenly, he opened his eyes quietly. Then, he sensed a familiar aura fluctuation. The 5 Tao bodies had returned. Lin Sun's main body moved, and in a flash, the 5 Tao bodies that had just entered the primordial realm appeared in the cave abode. A connection was formed between his main body and his doppelgangers, allowing Lin Sun to instantly understand what had happened in the 8th heaven. After a while, a smile appeared on Lin Sun's main body's lip. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. The 9th heaven has been holding back all this time. This is really strange. While thinking, Lin Sun's main body put away the 5 Tao bodies. He had a hunch that the eternal gods must have noticed some earth-shattering change, which made them have no time to care about the 8th heaven. And this earth-shattering change was probably related to the calamity of the era. What could it be? Lin Sun couldn't figure it out, but for him, it was already an unexpected harvest to be able to destroy the 10 immortal giants on this trip. The power of the restriction outside the cave abode suddenly fluctuated. When Lin Sun opened the restriction, Xian Feiling's voice suddenly sounded. How did it go? Lin Sun got up and walked out of the cave abode, smiling. It went well. From now on, there will be no more 10 immortal giants in this world. Xian Feiling was stunned. His eyes widened. They were all destroyed? Lin Sun nodded. Xian Feiling excitedly slapped Lin Sun's shoulder. Tell me how you did it. On that day, the news about Lin Sun destroying the 10 immortal giants of the 8th heaven spread in the primordial realm, causing a great sensation. Pavilion Master Lin destroyed the 10 immortal giants alone? He is too fierce, right? The older generation figures were all dumbfounded and shocked. As for the descendants of the 3 pavilions and 9 peaks, they were all excited, talking about it excitedly. The 10 immortal giants were behemoths that had stood for countless years. But now they were all erased from the world. Junior Sister Tang Jiang, Pavilion Master Lin is your master. Why don't you look happy? In the training field of the 9th peak, many disciples were talking about Lin Sun's great victory in high spirits, but someone noticed that Tang Jiang was sitting there alone with her arms around her knees, lost in thought. I'm naturally very happy, but I'm only worried that no matter how hard I cultivate, I won't be able to satisfy Master. Tang Jiang sighed. Don't give yourself any pressure. There's only one person like your master in the entire world. What you should do is to stick to your heart and seek your own path towards the Tao. You shouldn't be arrogant or rash, and you shouldn't be shocked by favor or humiliation. Not far away, the Peak Lord, Mo Lanshan, walked over and said in a gentle voice. Tang Jiang quickly stood up and said, Peak Master is right. Mo Lanshan asked, Tang Jiang, how long has it been since you last saw your master? Tang Jiang answered without hesitation, more than 8 years. It's been quite some time. Mo Lanshan nodded. Now that your master has just returned with a complete victory, you can take this opportunity to visit him. Tang Jiang's eyes widened. Can I? Mo Lanshan smiled. You're his last disciple, so it's reasonable for you to visit him. Why not? Okay, I'll go now. With that, Tang Jiang turned and left. On this day, there were many people who went to visit Lin Sun, such as the deputy heads and elders of the 3 pavilions. All of them came to congratulate Lin Sun. When Tang Jiang arrived, she immediately attracted a lot of attention. Hey, little Tang Jiang has grown up so much. In just 18 years, she has already stepped into the 3rd step of the quasi-emperor realm. An old monster joked. This girl's root bone is not very good, but her talent and comprehension are extraordinary. Her future achievements are bound to be limitless. Someone commented while stroking his beard. Tang Jiang, when you reach the Emperor realm, I'll be your protector. Someone said with a smile. Thank you, seniors. Tang Jiang appeared very polite, well-behaved and sensible. She naturally knew that the reason why so many old people paid so much attention to her was naturally because of her master. When Tang Jiang saw Lin Sun, he was drinking and chatting with Du Guyong, Fang Daoping and others, which made her feel a little restrained and nervous. Tang Jiang, come here. Lin Sun waved his hand with a smile. Tang Jiang hurried over and said, Disciple Tang Jiang pays respect to master. Don't stand on ceremony. Sit down and wait. I'll test your Taoism later, Lin Sun said with a smile. He had never taught this disciple carefully, so he felt a little sorry. Tang Jiang didn't think so much. She sat on the side of Lin Sun with great joy. Until the disciples who came to visit left one by one. Lin Sun first asked some questions about Tang Jiang's cultivation, and finally said, Before I reach the Emperor realm, you can stay with me and cultivate. The Emperor realm was the most critical step on the road of Tao. As Lin Sun's master, he naturally would not hide anything, so he decided to take this opportunity to give Tang Jiang some advice. Okay. Tang Jiang nodded, her face full of surprise. Late at night, the azure wood Taoist body was preaching to Tang Jiang, answering her doubts. Lin Sun's main body was cooking. Xia Ji sat in front of the table and began to seriously enjoy the delicious food that Lin Sun served from time to time. Occasionally seeing this scene, Tang Jiang felt a burst of indescribable envy in her heart. If I want to find a Tao companion in the future, I must find someone like Lin Sun. Tang Jiang, come and eat with us. After a long time, Lin Sun packed up all kinds of food and called Tang Jiang to eat together. Tang Jiang hurriedly trotted over and sat obediently on the side. After eating, Tang Jiang reluctantly said goodbye and returned to her cave residence. Lin Sun brewed a pot of hot tea and drank with Xia Ji. After second senior brother and the others come back, I plan to go back to the starry sky ancient road. Now that the 10 immortal giants have been destroyed, whether it is the witch sect, Zen sect, or the eternal gods of the 9th heaven, they have all retreated. Lin Sun intends to take advantage of this time to take away Zhao Jingxian and her son, as well as the relatives and friends of the Lin family, and settle them in the Yuan sect. Of course, his parents and the Luo family members living in the Aurora world of the Chaos Demon Sea in the 6th heaven also need to be settled. Take me with you, said Xia Ji. Lin Sun agreed with a smile. However, plans can't keep up with changes. Half a month later, second senior brother Zhongqiu returned to the Yuan sect and told Lin Sun some good news and bad news. The good news was that Lin Sun and the others who were trapped in the great universe true realm had been successfully rescued. The bad news was that in the 1,000 years before the calamity of the era, there will no longer be an opportunity to prove one's eternal Tao in the eternal true world. Lin Sun was caught off guard when he learned of this news. Eldest senior brother originally had a chance to prove one's eternal Tao, but because of this unforeseen event, his cultivation path has stagnated at the transcendent realm great perfection, unable to advance. In the cave residence, Zhongqiu sighed softly. What about eldest senior brother and the others? Lin Sun could not help but ask. They went to Kunlun ruins, said Zhongqiu. Zhongqiu said, according to eldest senior brother, he can't delay any longer. He must make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Otherwise, the drive to prove one's Tao that he has cultivated for many years will be worn out. Lin Sun's eyes narrowed. However, the Kunlun ruins is extremely dangerous now. I don't know how many eternal realm existences are gathering there. It's too dangerous for eldest senior brother and the others to go. Zhongqiu said, don't forget that senior golden cicada, master's will, dharma form, and martial uncle Kong Ju are all there. With their care, eldest senior brother will be much safer when he proves his Tao. Lin Sun couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Originally, he was looking forward to reuniting with his senior brothers and sisters in Fangsuan Mountain. Now, it seemed that he would miss this opportunity again. The affairs of the world are impermanent, nothing more so than this. So, apart from you, second senior brother, the other senior brothers and sisters have also left with eldest senior brother? Lin Sun asked. Zhong Qiu nodded and said, "That's right. After I see you this time, I will immediately set off for Kunlun ruins." Lin Sun was stunned. Then, "Why don't I go with you?" Zhong Qiu refused without thinking. "No, eldest senior brother and third junior sister asked me to come here to tell you not to go to Kunlun ruins before the era calamity arrives." "Why?" Lin Sun frowned. Zhong Qiu said, "I don't know how many Eternal Realm existences have gathered in Kunlun ruins now. They are competing to go to the ruins of Wonderful Tao. There will be unpredictable battles at all times. If you go and let those old guys know that you have the Nirvana Law, what do you think they will do if they can threaten the mastermind behind the era calamity?" Lin Sun said, "As long as we don't say anything, how can they know?" Zhong Qiu said, "Don't underestimate those Eternal Realm old guys. What's more, you're the Yuan Sect's Yuan Qing Pavilion Master now. How can you leave everything at this time?" Lin Sun was speechless for a moment. He really couldn't go to Kunlun ruins at all costs. It was not because he couldn't bear to give up the position of Yuan Qing Pavilion Master, but because there were still many things he had yet to do. For example, his parents, Master Lu, and the others were still in the Aurora world, the sixth heaven. Zhao Jingxian and her son, and the members of the Lin family were still waiting for him to return. All of these things had to be resolved before the era calamity arrived. "Don't worry, there will come a day when we brothers and sisters can reunite," Zhong Qiu said softly. Zhong Qiu said softly, "You don't have to worry about us. Don't forget that a long time ago, our Fangsuan mountain lived in the Kunlun ruins for a period of time. Our understanding of the Kunlun ruins is far from what others can compare to." Lin Sun smiled bitterly and said, "What else can I say other than agreeing?" After a pause, he asked, "Senior brother, why did you say that before the era calamity arrives, it's impossible for an opportunity to prove eternity to appear in the eternal world?" Zhong Qiu's expression instantly became solemn as he said, "This is a conclusion that eldest senior brother came to personally. According to him, it's very likely that the critical factor to attain eternity has been obstructed by the person that's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Otherwise, he would have been able to easily break through the barrier and step into the eternal realm over 10 years ago." Lin Sun felt a chill in his heart. If that's the case, if I stay in the eternal world, won't I be destined to never step onto the eternal path? More updates tonight. Chapter 3058. Zhong Qiu said, "That should be the case, but there are no absolutes in this world. You might not be able to reach a breakthrough in the eternal true world, but that doesn't mean that you won't be able to reach a breakthrough in other places. For example, eldest senior brother had chosen to head to the Kunlun ruins to make a breakthrough. Junior brother, you can do the same in the future." Lin Sun nodded. He was now only one step away from the eternal realm, but the accumulation of his cultivation was far from enough. Only after he completely refined the Nirvana order would he consider seeking an opportunity to prove the eternal realm. On that very day, Zhong Qiu left in a hurry. Lin Sun was lost in thought. If the calamity of an era were to descend, then this era would definitely be obliterated. At that time, the most terrifying 5 blight tribulation would descend, and no matter how high one's cultivation was, it would be impossible for one to escape being annihilated by this calamity. On the other hand, before the calamity of an era descended, the eternal realm existences in the world were most afraid of the grand silence lifespan tribulation that would descend at any moment. It is precisely because of this that the eternal gods of the ninth heaven have no time to care about anything else. They can only wholeheartedly prepare to resolve this disaster. Similarly, the Kunlun ruins had also become a gathering place. It was because only in the Kunlun ruins would one have the opportunity to head to the ruins of Myriad Tao and avoid the threat of the Great Silence lifeless tribulation. Currently, the Master of the Heart Core's avatar, Golden Cicada, Kongju, and the Yuan Sect's Tai Xian, Yanji Yubeihai, and the others had all headed to the Kunlun ruins. Before long, the successors of Mount Fangtsuan would arrive there as well. If Lin's guess was right, the voodoo cult and the Zen cult were probably making the same preparations. We can't delay any longer. After a long time, Lin took a deep breath and made a decision. In the following days, Lin became busy all of a sudden. He was so busy that he had no choice but to mobilize all 5 of his Taoist forms to coordinate with his main body. Only then could he take care of his own cultivation while dealing with various matters. His scarlet flame Taoist body quietly left with the abyssal sword cauldron and headed to the 6th heaven. The greenwood Taoist physique was teaching Tang Jiang cultivation. The platinum gold Tao body headed to the essential void pavilion's Book Mountain. There were many ancient books in the Book Mountain, and among them were records related to the calamity of an era. The Blackwater Taoist body went to visit Fong Daoping. This time, he had destroyed the 10 undying giants, allowing him to take away all the cultivation resources and wealth that the 10 undying giants had accumulated over countless years. After checking, Lin soon gathered all the cultivation resources that he didn't need and decided to hand them over to Fong Daoping. In this way, it would be enough to benefit the whole Yuan sect. After all, the wealth accumulated by any one of the undying giants was enough to make all the forces in the world go crazy, much less the combined wealth of the 10 undying giants. The yellow earth Taoist physique helped the main body and began to refine the collected order power. Among the 10 immortal giants, 5 of them possessed rare heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders, while the other 5 only possessed heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders. However, immortal giants like the Wang family and the Fu family possessed many other heaven rank, 9 heavenly orders in addition to rare ones. Undying giants like the Zhong clan and the Jing clan, who only possessed heaven rank 9 sequences, had an extremely large number of heaven rank sequences in their clans. Lin Sun had counted. In addition to the 5 rare heaven rank orders, there were as many as 89 heaven rank orders collected from the 10 immortal magnates. On average, each undying giant would have 8 to 9 heaven rank 9 heaven rank order sequences. From this, one could see how deep the foundations of the 10 undying giants were. For example, in the 7th heaven, there were also many forces. Immortal emperor clans with heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders, but in terms of foundations, they were far from comparable to the immortal giants like the Jing clan and the Zhong clan. The reason was that the immortal giants like the Jing clan and the Zhong clan not only had a large number of heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders, but they also had an eternal god backing them. This was the reason why they could stand proudly in the 8th heaven and look down on the world. Of the 89 heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders, Lin Sun kept 20 of them. The rest were taken away by the Blackwater Taoist physique and given to Fong Daoping to deal with. Now Lin Sun planned to completely refine the 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders. They were the Wang family's Tree of Judgment, the Fu family's 4 Spirits Lake, the Donghuang clan's 9 Changes Space, the Zhongli clan's Samadhi Cleansing Fire, and the Qi clan's True Water of Silence. These 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders had all given birth to Order Spirit. In the past, Lin Sun would not have been willing to refine these top-notch treasures, but now he couldn't care less. After all, only 20% of Nirvana's power was left, and it was where its core origin was located. It was extremely laborious to refine, and progress was also extremely slow. According to Lin Sun's deduction, even if his main body and the 5 Taoist physiques worked together to refine them, it would probably take them at least 30 to 50 years to completely refine them. Therefore, Lin Sun planned to refine these 5 rare heaven rank, 9 heaven rank orders first. In this way, the power of his immortal rules would definitely increase greatly, and he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort when refining Nirvana. Whoosh, a dazzling fluctuation of orders circulated. Lin Sun took out the Wang family's Tree of Judgment and gave it to the Yellow Earth Taoist physique to refine. Meanwhile, his main body took out the Fu family's 4 Spirits Lake to refine. 3 days later, Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist physique brought Luo Qingxuan, Lin Wenjing, Lu Boya, and all the members of the Luo family back to the Yuan sect. Of course, Peng Tianxiang and the members of the Peng family were also there. On the same day, Lin Sun's main body came out of seclusion and reunited with his parents, Master Lu, and other relatives. They drank and chatted merrily. It was also on this day that the Luo family and the Peng family were settled in the Yuan sect, which solved Lin Sun's worries. After the Scarlet Fire Taoist physique returned, he helped Lin Sun refine the Heaven Rank 9 Taoist physique along with the Yellow Earth Taoist physique. Apart from the Greenwood Taoist physique teaching Tang Jiang cultivation every day, the other trivial matters were handled by the Black Water Taoist physique and the White Gold Taoist physique. Time flew and half a year passed quickly. In this half a year, many changes happened in the Yuan sect. Among the disciples of the Nine Peaks, those who set foot on the immortal path emerged like mushrooms after the rain, and the heavenly longevity realm powerhouses were also advancing towards the Nirvana realm. What was especially gratifying was that some elders in the Nirvana realm perfected broke through and entered the transcendent realm. The reason was that in this half a year, Fang Daoping distributed the wealth Lin Sun collected from the 10 immortal giants in batches. With enough cultivation resources, it would be difficult for the powerhouses in the Yuan sect not to break through. Such changes made Xian Feiling, Du Guyong, and Fang Daoping very happy. Of course, they all knew that Lin Sun's contribution was indispensable for the Yuan sect to have such changes in just half a year. At the same time, in the cave residence, Lin Sun's body was full of qi, and an immortal halo floated behind him, forming a mysterious lotus-like pattern. When it rotated slowly, it reflected the mysterious scene of the cycle of life and death. It was like the lotus. In the flower pattern, there was a world of samsara, where life and death alternated, destruction and nirvana were deduced, and an obscure and mysterious aura emerged. As Lin Sun withdrew the qi around him, all the strange phenomena suddenly disappeared without a trace. Next, it's time to refine the remaining 20% of the Nirvana order power. Lin Sun let out a long breath. In half a year, he completely refined the 5 rare 9th-level Heaven Rank order power and integrated it into his immortal law, which made the law transform and become more powerful than before. If it weren't for the lack of the core power belonging to the Nirvana order, it would be no different from the real Nirvana order. Next, I need to further refine the Abyssal Sword Cauldron. Lin Sun thought. The power of the Abyssal Sword Cauldron was now unparalleled, far beyond the ordinary immortal weapons. But for Lin Sun, there was still a lot of room for improvement. Moreover, he had plundered countless divine materials from the 10 immortal giants, which were enough to greatly improve the power of the Abyssal Sword Cauldron. Master! A joyful voice sounded outside the cave residence, and then the beautiful figure of his disciple, Tang Jiang, flew in and said happily, "I have reached the Emperor realm." Lin Sun smiled and said, "Not bad, not bad." After half a year of teaching and guidance, Tang Jiang, who was already at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm, had reached the emperor realm today, which didn't surprise Lin Sun. Now that you've stepped foot into this realm, you can only seek your path in the future on your own. All I can teach you are nothing more than some experiences in cultivating in the Emperor realm. You can use it as reference, but you absolutely can't copy it completely, otherwise it would delay your own path towards the Tao. Lin Sun warned. Tang Jiang nodded hard. Go ahead. You've just broken through, consolidate your realm. From now on, you'll go to the Sky Pavilion to practice. Only through experience can you better check and make up for your shortcomings. Lin Sun said. Master, Tang Jiang's heart suddenly surged with reluctance. In the past 6 months, she had been staying with Lin Sun, guided by Greenwood Taoist physique day and night, and tasted the delicious food cooked by Lin Sun in her spare time. She had long regarded Lin Sun as a father in her heart, so she was naturally reluctant to leave. It's not like you can't see me anymore. Why do you have to be like this? Lin Sun laughed. The young eagle spreads its wings and roams the ninth heaven. Although you have the cultivation of the Emperor realm, your shortcomings are also very obvious, that is, you lack the tempering of worldly affairs. In the future, you should take more assessment tasks and experience more things. It's good for you. Well, then I'll come to visit you often in the future. Tang Jiang took a deep breath and said seriously. Watching Tang Jiang's figure leave, Lin Sun couldn't help thinking of Su Bai, his disciple when he was in the ancient desolation realm. He didn't know what realm this disciple had reached now. When I completely refine the Nirvana order, I'll immediately set off for the ancient way of starry sky. Lin Sun made a decision. From this day on, Lin Sun retreated again and devoted almost all his attention to refining the Nirvana order, unaware of the passage of time. Xia Ji had been accompanying Lin Sun all the time. Even if she hadn't spoken to Lin Sun for a long time, even if she had been staying in this cavern world, she didn't seem to feel bored. She had always been like this over the years. The world in her heart only contained Lin Sun. More updates. Chapter 3059. A year passed quickly. On this day, Lin Sun woke up from his meditation and frowned slightly. As early as half a year ago, he had refined the Nirvana order to 90%, but in the next 6 months, he didn't make any progress. No matter how hard he tried to refine the remaining 10% of the core power, he couldn't shake it at all. It seems that this is a bottleneck. Far from being solved with time and effort, Lin Sun made an inference. Wushuang. With a move of his heart, Wushuang's figure appeared out of thin air. Master, what can I do for you? When Lin Sun brought the Luo family back from the sixth heaven, Wushuang had also been taken back by him. In your opinion, what is the power of my immortal law now? Lin Sun asked. Wushuang was the spirit of the Order of Heaven in the origin world of the last era. She had survived the calamity of the era and had extremely incredible power. According to her, when she was at her peak, the power she controlled was not weaker than the divine order. The mysteries contained in the divine order in the divine world were all related to the eternal way, and the power of order contained was no different from the power of rules. In other words, when Wushuang was at her peak, the power she controlled was no different from the law of heaven. Wushuang said in a clear voice, Master's immortal law is not weaker than the divine order, and even stronger than the divine order, but Master's immortal law is the power of the law after all, not the real eternal way. She paused for a moment and said, In my opinion, the reason it's like this is because it's restricted by Master's cultivation. If Master attains the eternal Tao, then the immortal laws are bound to transform into the inconceivable eternal laws, and eternal laws are no different from the laws of heaven and earth. Lin Sun nodded. It seems that my inference is right. No matter how powerful the immortal law is, it is still the power on the path of immortality. It is bound to be impossible to achieve a new transformation due to my own cultivation realm. He completely understood. The remaining 10% of the core power of the Nirvana order was not something he could refine at his current realm, and he needed to prove the eternal way before he could be qualified to refine it completely. Master, your immortal law is already a taboo, even more powerful than the divine order, which means that your current cultivation can fight against the power of the law of heaven and earth. Wushuang's voice was clear and sweet. Lin Sun smiled and said, You're such a sweet talker. Don't tell me you're coveting the power of order on me again? Wushuang's innocent face revealed a trace of shyness as she said, Master, Wushuang is only one step away from recovering to her peak state. Without waiting for him to finish, Lin Sun tossed out 5 ninth-grade heaven-level sequences. Take them. Wushuang's beautiful eyes were sparkling as she said excitedly, Thank you, Master. I know Master loves Wushuang the most. Lin Sun laughed. Although he knew that Wushuang had no emotions or intelligence, and that her current actions and expressions were derived from her own order power, it was not artificial at all. It looked very natural and spiritual. Putting away Wushuang, Lin Sun was lost in thought. At present, he still had a lot of sequence power on him. However, the only rare 9th grade heaven rank sequence power was a pair of purplish-green gourds. Apart from them, there was also Wushuang, Little Ming, Little Xian, and the divine level Grand Prime. Among them, the Grand Prime Order was subdued from the 10 devil realms and contained the most primitive way of eternity. According to Wushuang, the Grand Prime Order at that time was just born, like a young man with a blank sheet of paper, with infinite potential to be excavated. Over the years, the Grand Prime Order had been nourished by Lin Sun's Nirvana Law. It regarded the Nirvana Law as its mother, and it had been constantly reborn and reshaped over the years. However, even Lin Sun himself did not know what it would eventually transform into. But what Lin Sun was sure of was that the power of the Nirvana Law could nirvana and reshape the divine level order. Just like now, the divine level Grand Prime was constantly being nourished by Lin Sun's immortal law. When Lin Sun proved the way of eternity, he could refine it and condense it into his own eternal law. Of course, he could also leave the divine level order behind. In that case, it would be enough to establish an eternal force in the future. After a long time, Lin Sun woke up from his thoughts. It's time to set off on the journey back to the Starry Sky Ancient Road. He stood up and left the cave residence. A moment later, in the central hall, Lin Sun met with Sky Pavilion Master Xian, Failing and Void Pavilion Master Duguyong, and talked to them about his decision to head to the Starry Sky Ancient Path. Both of them nodded in agreement. For the current Lin Sun, unless it was his eternal realm true body, there was almost no one in the world who could be his opponent. Moreover, a place like the Starry Sky Ancient Path was just one of the many worlds, and it had long since declined. Over the countless years, it had almost been forgotten by the eternal world. How could there be an opponent who could threaten Lin Sun in such a place? Although the Starry Sky Ancient Path has declined for a long time, it has one of the 4 great Tao ruins, the ultimate. It's adjacent to the Kunlun ruins, so it can be said to be blessed by nature. Xian Failing came from the Xian family, so he naturally knew the situation of the Starry Sky Ancient Path like the back of his hand. Unfortunately, although the Kunlun ruins also has opportunities and fortunes, most of them have been taken away long ago. Now, it has become a place of contention during the change of eras. Only the old antiques in the Eternal Realm have the right to compete for it. It's too dangerous. The ultimate is where the orthodoxy of Mount Heart is located. It's known as the origin of the great Tao in the universe. If we trace the source, the eternal world is also related to the ultimate. It's just that a long time ago, the origin power of the ultimate has been exhausted. Otherwise, your orthodoxy of Mount Heart wouldn't have been easily destroyed by the enemy. Hearing this, Lin Sun recalled the core ruins he saw in the ultimate and could not help but sigh. Senior, you also know about the past? Lin Sun asked. Xian Failing said, of course. However, the destruction of your Mount Heart has nothing to do with the strength of the enemy. Since the beginning of the primordial times, the Master of the Core had already noticed that the origin power of the ultimate had been exhausted, so he moved the sect to the Kunlun ruins a long time ago. No wonder. Lin Sun nodded. He knew a long time ago that the power that destroyed Mount Heart came from the 6 great Tao courts of the Starry Sky Ancient Path. However, from the looks of it now, the Fangtsuan Mountain Gate that they had destroyed all those years ago was merely an empty shell. Anyone would be able to do it. By the way, if you leave this time, bring my great-grandson with you. Xian Failing suddenly said. Lin Sun said, Senior, do you also plan to bring your clansmen to the primordial realm? Xian Failing nodded and smiled. That's right. I originally planned to go to the Starry Sky Ancient Path in a few years. However, if you go on my behalf, it will save me a lot of trouble. Lin Sun agreed readily. After bidding farewell to Xian Failing and Duguyong, He went to look for Xian Juyin and Jintian Xianyue. Yuankong Pavilion, Wild Cloud Residence. When he saw Lin Sun, Xian Juyin grinned and said, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be the world-famous Yuan Qing Pavilion Master, Lord Lin." Lin Sun slapped his shoulder. "Why didn't you bow to the Pavilion Master?" Xian Failing grimaced in pain and begged for mercy. Lin Sun could not help but laugh and said, "Get ready to go back to the starry sky ancient path with me. I'll go too." Not far away, Jintian Xianyue could not help but speak up. "Of course I won't leave you alone." Lin Sun looked at Jintian Xianyue with a smile. Her white clothes fluttered with the wind and a golden belt around her waist. She was as beautiful as a painting, and her temperament was as cold as ice. She was becoming more and more beautiful. Like Xian Juyin, she had successfully set foot on the immortal path more than 10 years ago and was now in the heavenly longevity realm. Compared to Lin Sun, her progress was not fast. But compared to others, her progress could be said to be lightning fast. Not long after, Lin Sun returned to the cave residence with Xian Juyin and Jintian Xianyue. "Xia Ji, we should set off." Xia Ji was eating melon seeds when she heard that. She got up and said, "Let's go." There was no hesitation or thought. It was as natural as if they were just going out for a stroll. Lin Sun left the 5 Taoist bodies behind to guard the Yuan sect and to deal with various matters in the sect at any time. Moreover, Lin Sun also left the Abyssal Sword Cauldron to be refined by the Scarlet Flame Taoist body, the Greenwood Taoist body, and the Platinum Taoist body. With the divine materials and materials obtained from the 10 immortal giants, the power of the Abyssal Sword Cauldron could be increased by a great deal. In short, no matter what Lin Sun did now, as long as he could make use of time, he would not waste a single moment. On that day, Lin Sun, Xia Ji, Xian Failing, and Jintian Xianyue left the Yuan realm together. Whoosh! In the starry sky of the world beyond the vault of heaven, a skiff carried Lin Sun and the others through the starry sky at an extremely fast speed. In a flash, it crossed a part of the starry sky. It was as if it was sailing through space and time, and it made people feel as if the stars were moving. In just a few hours, a huge golden door that spanned 10,000 feet appeared in their field of vision. It was like a golden rainbow that stretched across the void. This was one of the doors that led to the eternal world from Chaotian City, the 49th immortal pass of the vast 1,000 battle domains. When Lin Sun arrived on the skiff and successfully passed through the golden door, his field of vision changed, and he immediately arrived in Chaotian City. Chaotian City. As the last checkpoint of the vast 1,000 battle domains, Chaotian City was a hub that connected to the eternal world. Over the years, many factions from the eternal world had set up shop in the city. They set up all sorts of shops to purchase all sorts of treasures that could only be found in the vast 1,000 battle domains. Treasures like the Underworld Pearl and the Skunda Pearl were also highly sought after cultivation resources in the eternal world. Apart from that, there were also many immortal emperor clans that set up shop in Chaotian City. They were stationed here in order to recruit talents as soon as possible. It should be known that those who could enter the vast 1,000 battle domains and experience countless bloodshed and slaughter to reach the 49th Immortal Pass were all extremely powerful individuals. In the past, Lin Sun had killed his way from the first Immortal Pass to the 49th Immortal Pass, Chaotian City. At that time, he was in the Ju-Ing Emperor realm. When he returned, he was already in the Transcendent Realm Great Perfection. When he arrived in the city, Lin Sun couldn't help but reminisce about the past. He put away the skiff and said, "Everyone, why don't you accompany me for a walk in the city?" P.S. A small modification. Due to the conflict between the two words absolute beginning and absolute beginning bell, the absolute beginning order has been changed to absolute beginning order. Chapter 3060. Chaotian City was majestic and magnificent, as if it was forged from divine gold. It shone with a cold luster, and there was a faint layer of dark red halo that looked like specks of blood. According to legend, this was the blood of emperors, and even the blood of immortals, that had fallen in the battles of ancient times. Of course, it had long dried up, and its essence had dissipated. Otherwise, this city would be filled with murderous intent and unapproachable. The enormous city gate tower was over 10 kilometers tall, and it was grand and powerful. It emanated a horrifying pressure. This was a pair of gates forged from Star River divine sand mixed with immortal matter, and it was shocking. This was Chaotian City. Since ancient times, countless cultivators in the vast thousand worlds dreamed of reaching this place. As long as they reached this place, they would have the chance to ascend to the eternal true world. The buildings in Chaotian City were all incomparably ancient, and the atmosphere was solemn. The streets crisscrossed, bustling, and bustling with pedestrians everywhere. Lin Sun and the others restrained their auras as they walked. As they walked, many scenes appeared in Lin Sun's mind. In the past, he had seen martial Uncle Kong Ju, who had lost his mind and seemed to have gone mad in this city. He had participated in the operation of the gods' ruins outside this city, and had become enemies with the 4 Eastern imperial clans. He had gone through an unparalleled calamity under the primordial tree of Myriad Tao, and reached the ancestor realm. He had killed Qi Lingyun, Zhongli Shao, and Qi Pejuan, the peerless experts from the 8th heaven. It was also outside the gods' ruins that he had encountered a murderous calamity, and was protected by his 4th senior brother Ling Xuanzi and martial uncle Kong Ju, which had allowed him to escape by luck. The various events of the past seemed to be vivid in his mind, and Lin Sun was filled with emotion. Unknowingly, he had already arrived at the location of the boundary battle steel. The boundary battle steel could measure the battle strength of emperors and their achievements in the vast thousand battles domains. Lin Sun had once ranked first on the Xian ranking, and was unparalleled. Many figures gathered in front of the boundary battle steel. Each of them had a powerful aura, and emitted an extraordinary might. Some were elegant, some were domineering, some were like fairies descending to the mortal world, and some were like rulers patrolling the world. Since ancient times, those who were able to enter the great thousand-battle domain were all martial emperors and above. On the other hand, those who were able to traverse all the way from the first pass of immortality to finally arrive at the 49th pass of immortality were the most extraordinary and peerless figures in the Emperor realm. They were ruthless figures that were 1 in a million. Without a doubt, those near the domain battle steel were all peerless figures. Senior Lin Sun came to this place to test his ranking in the past. At that time, he had yet to verify his Tao and reach the end of ancestral Emperor realm, but now it is said that he is the most dazzling giant of immortal realm in eternal true world. Someone sighed. Lin Sun. The peerless Emperor realm experts nearby narrowed their eyes with different expressions on their faces. There are talents in every generation. The era of Lin Sun is destined to turn over. The world is destined to belong to us in the future. Someone's eyes shone brightly, filled with ambition. That's right. We've gone through countless battles and trials of life and death to reach Chaotian City. In the future, we will definitely shine brilliantly in the eternal true world and create our own legends. Yes, that's how a real man should be. For a time, many voices resounded, and all of them were complacent and heroic. Lin Sun, Xian Fei Ling, and the others looked at each other, and they could not help but smile. With their current status, they would naturally not care about these things. Instead, they found it very interesting because they had also walked through this path in the past. In a great river, the new generation would surpass the old, and the new generation would surpass the old. However, in Xian Fei Ling and Jin Tian Xian Yu's eyes, if the new generation after generation wanted to break the records Lin Sun had created in the past, it was practically impossible. Shameless boasting. Suddenly, a cold and indifferent voice rang in the air, causing the great emperors who were filled with heroic spirits to frown. They looked over at the same time. A young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back walked over. May I ask all of you here, how many of you have been in End Emperor realm for less than 500 years? The people looked at each other. They did not quite understand what he meant. Then let me ask one more thing. How many of you have been in End Emperor realm for less than 200 years? The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back swept his gaze over the people present. In an instant, the atmosphere became even quieter. The people could vaguely guess what the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back wanted to say. "Why is no one saying anything?" said the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back. "Fine, I will tell you directly. When Senior Lin Sun was in End Emperor realm, he had only cultivated for less than 100 years. Until now, he has cultivated for less than 400 years. In terms of age, he might not even be as old as most of you, but he is now an immortal giant whose name shakes the entire eternal true world. Do you know what an immortal giant is? It's someone whose cultivation has reached transcendent realm. Do you know what it means to shake the world? It means that the entire 9 heavens knows his name." The moment he said this, the entire place became silent. Everyone was stunned and their emotions surged. Reaching End Emperor realm in less than 100 years? Reaching Transcendent realm in less than 400 years? Shaking the entire 9 heavens? Every single word was like a huge mountain pressing down on the hearts of the peerless great emperors. Some of them looked ashamed, while others were stunned. Some of them looked unconvinced and said coldly, "Who are you? How do you know about Lin Sun's background? Just based on what you said, who knows whether it's true or not?" The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back said, "Whether you believe me or not, it's up to you." After that, he turned around and left. "This guy seems to be very familiar with you." Xian Juyin, who saw all of this, could not help but be surprised. "If my disciple is still not familiar with me, his master, wouldn't that be too outrageous?" Lin Sun said and chased after him. Previously they had concealed their presence, so no one noticed them. But now, when Lin Sun chased after him, the young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back instantly became alert. He said without turning his head, "What? You're not convinced and want to fight? This Chaotian city is covered by the power of order. Why don't we fight outside the city?" His voice was calm, but full of arrogance and confidence. A laugh sounded. "Yo, we haven't seen each other for so many years, and now you dare to challenge me." The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back shuddered and turned around quickly. When he saw the face of the person who spoke, his previously calm and composed face could not help but show a hint of astonishment, and his eyes widened bit by bit. After a while, he seemed to have reacted and cried out involuntarily, "Master, why are you here?" Lin Sun said with a smile, "Speaking of which, it's quite a coincidence. I just arrived in this city, but I didn't expect to run into you." The young man in hemp robes with a sword on his back in front of him was Su Bai. After many years, Su Bai had set foot in the emperor realm of Jushui and had reached the 8th level, not far from the ancestor realm of Ju Xuanper. This surprised Lin Sun. Back then, he had returned to the ancient Desolation realm and personally rescued Su Bai, who was fighting in the Great Wall of Imperial Pass. At that time, Su Bai was only in the quasi-emperor realm. Now, in just over 100 years, Su Bai had become a peak existence in the 8th level of the emperor realm. This progress was indeed great. Of course, compared with Tang Jiang, who had been staying in the Yuan Church to cultivate, he was a little inferior. After all, one was placed in the starry sky ancient road to be raised, while the other had been carefully cultivated by a group of old monsters in the Yuan Church since childhood. However, Su Bai's temperament and state of mind, which had been tempered by countless bloody killings, were far from comparable to Tang Jiang. At this time, Summer Solstice, Xian Juyin, and Jintian Xianyue all came over. "Is this the disciple named Su Bai you mentioned?" Xianjuin looked up and down at Su Bai and could not help but be amazed. Yes, Lin Sun said and introduced Su Bai to everyone. Until this moment, Su Bai still felt like he was dreaming. Over the years, he had crossed the starry sky and killed all the way from the first immortal pass to Chaotian City. No matter where he went, he could hear people talking about his master. He would often fantasize about what it would be like when he met his master in the eternal true world. How could he have imagined that he would meet his master in this Chaotian City? It was too unexpected and very pleasant. Let's go and find a place to have a good chat. Lin Sun also had a lot of things in his heart to ask Su Bai. Master, wait a moment. Su Bai looked a little uncomfortable and said, I still have to wait for someone. Who? Lin Sun raised his eyebrows. At this moment, a sweet voice sounded in the distance. Husband, you're actually here. Accompanied by the voice, a slender figure, fair-skinned, and beautiful woman in a blue dress came over. Lin Sun immediately recognized that this woman was Gu Shi. Back in the ancient Desolation domain, it was Gu Shi who trekked all the way to the Lin family's residence to ask for help from Lin Sun, so that Lin Sun could reach the Great Wall of the Imperial Pass in time and rescue Su Bai, who was trapped in a helpless place. It turns out that you've become cultivation companions, Lin Sun said with a smile. At this time, Gu Shi also saw Lin Sun's appearance clearly and could not help but be surprised. Senior, how come it's you? Su Bai quickly explained, but Gu Shi still looked very surprised. Obviously, she never expected to see Lin Sun here. Let's go. I remember that there's a Baofeng building in this Chaotian city, and the divine wine winding stream scoop, sold there is superb. I'll take you there to have a taste. Lin Sun said with a smile. Back then, the insane martial Uncle Kong Ju appeared outside Baofeng building and clamored to drink winding stream scoop. In an elegant room of Baofeng building, jars of winding stream scoop were served one after another, and there were all kinds of delicacies. Lin Sun and the others sat down one by one, drinking and chatting happily. However, just a moment later, there was a knock on the closed door of the room. Bang, bang, bang. The knock on the door was very rough and heavy, and a cold voice also sounded outside. Su Bai, I know you're inside. Come out if you have the guts. Lin Sun and the others looked at each other and then at Su Bai. Su Bai frowned. Master, wait here for a moment. I'll be back soon. As he spoke, he stood up. Gu Shi also got up. I'll go with you. It's just a small matter. Shi, stay and talk to Master. I'll solve it. Su Bai pushed the door open and went out. I'll continue to add chapters tonight. In the next chapter, Lin Sun would not show off in front of his disciple, so don't scold the plot first. I'm really scared of being scolded, so I'll give you a warning first. Chapter 3061. As soon as Su Bai walked out of the room, he closed the door. The atmosphere in the room was much quieter, and only Xia Ji was eating and drinking by herself. Child, shall I go and have a look? Jintian Xianyue couldn't help asking. Lin Sun shook his head. Let him solve it by himself. You've just gotten your butt warm, and now you're being targeted by your enemies. I'm afraid your disciple has caused quite a lot of trouble. Xianjuin tuted. Lin Sun smiled and said, The rise of the strong must be accompanied by a storm of blood. Over the years, Su Bai must have made a lot of enemies on the way to Chaotian City. When I came to Chaotian City, I caused more trouble. It's normal. Gu Shi said softly, Senior, you're right. Su Bai often said that all the disputes in the world are whetstones to temper his cultivation. He is never afraid of trouble, but he is afraid that there are not enough whetstones. Lin Sun couldn't help but feel gratified. With such a state of mind, the great Tao is expected. He asked, When did you leave the ancient Desolation domain? Gu Shi said, It was about 60 years ago. At that time, Su Bai had already reached the Emperor realm. He wholeheartedly wanted to pursue a higher path, so he took me across the starry sky and came to this vast 1,000-battle domain. However, we didn't rush. Su-bai regarded it as a cultivation and stopped along the way. Until now, we just arrived at Chaotian City. 60 years ago, Lin Sun pondered. What was the situation of the Lin family when you left? When he was in seclusion in Yuan Church to prepare for the immortal path, Fu Wenli and other deputy pavilion masters mobilized the power of the immortal giants behind them to go to the ancient desolation domain in order to disturb his state of mind, trying to capture his relatives and friends. Later, Xian Feiling gave a jade slip to Lin Sun, which was handed over by Zhao Jingxian to the Xian family, and then passed on to Yuan Church. There was only one sentence written on the jade slip: "Our Lin family is hidden in the ultimate land. Don't worry, don't worry." It was signed by Zhao Jingxian. It was also this jade slip that swept away Lin Sun's worries in those years. But it was foreseeable that the force sent by Fu Wenli had indeed entered the lower realm of the ancient desolation domain. Otherwise, the Lin family in Xiao Empire would not have moved to the ultimate land. Gu Shi sorted out his thoughts for a moment before he spoke tirelessly. After Lin Sun left, the spirit of heaven and earth in the lower realm had been bursting, attracting the attention of the entire ancient desolation domain. The original Taoist sect, which was established by Lin Sun, also flourished and became the top orthodoxy in the mortal world. Even the demon forces in the Soul Oblivion Sea did not dare to offend it. But 70 years ago, a group of extremely strong people suddenly came to the lower realm to capture Lin. By name. Lin as they were Lin's family, they as possible. At that time, the head of the Xian family, Xian Shangchen, immediately arrived at the primeval Dao sect where the Lin family was located and told them the news. Therefore, they were able to evacuate from the Xiao Empire before the massacre. In the end, all the people of Lin family and Yuanshi Taoist sect moved into the secret world of Kor in the ultimate land. Except for losing their original territory, they did not suffer any loss. After about 10 years, Su Bai and Gu Shi set off and left the ultimate ruins, beginning their cultivation journey to the vast thousand-battle domain. Knowing this, Lin Sun felt a lot more at ease. If I see your father when I go back this time, I'll invite him for a drink. Lin Sun looked at Xian Juyin. Xian Juyin smiled and said, "Invite him? Why? Just invite me." "Why not? Come on, let's have a drink first." Lin Sun raised his glass with a smile and drank it up. Originally, he planned to ask about the situation of his relatives and friends, but he gave up after thinking about it. Su Bai and Gu Shi had been away for about 60 years. They were doomed to not know what had happened in these 60 years. It was best to go back and see for himself. It didn't take long for Su Bai to come back, looking calm. "Is it settled?" asked Lin Sun. Su Bai nodded and said, "Yes, thank you for your concern just now." Gu Shi could not help but glance at him. A small matter? He had made many enemies along the way, and they were all powerhouses from the big forces of the eternal true world. How could it be a small matter? However, seeing that Su Bai was unwilling to mention it in front of Lin Sun, Gu Shi finally held back. Lin Sun smiled and said, "It's a blessing for us master and disciple to reunite here today. Come, let's drink." Su Bai also smiled, picked up his glass and said, "A toast to master." The banquet lasted for several hours before it ended. Finally, Lin Sun asked, "Do you want to go back to the Starry Sky Ancient Road with me?" Su Bai hesitated for a moment and said, "Master, I want to follow the path you took back then and kill my way to the eternal God realm in one go. However, I'll still listen to your arrangements." Lin Sun nodded and said, "In that case, I won't force you. Let's part ways here. I won't let you down." Su Bai bowed and saluted. "As long as you stick to your path," Lin Sun said with a smile. On the same day, he left Chaotian City with Summer Solstice, Xian Jiuyin, and Jintian Xianyue. After watching Lin Sun and the others disappear, Su Bai retracted his gaze and said with emotion, "I haven't seen you for many years, master. Your power has become stronger." Before leaving, Lin Sun gave him a jade slip imprinted with his cultivation experience, which was now carefully stored by him. Gu Shi could not help but ask, "Husband, why didn't you tell Master about the situation you were facing at the banquet?" Su Bai smiled and said, "If I bother Master with these trivial matters, it would seem that I'm too incompetent as a disciple. Don't worry. No matter how dangerous it is, I'll protect you with my life." Gu Shi sighed softly and said, "You just have to be strong. With my current reputation in the eternal true world, I can easily solve the enemies you're facing now." Su Bai patted Gu Shi on the shoulder and said, "I know you're worried about my safety, but there are some things that are best done by yourself." Gu Shi nodded in agreement. She did not tell Su Bai that when Lin Sun left, he had given her a jade talisman and told her that if she encountered a killing tribulation that she could not resolve, she only needed to use her own cultivation to activate the jade talisman. Sure enough, Senior knows my husband's temperament the best. You know that if I give this jade talisman to my husband, he will definitely not accept it. Gu Shi sighed in her heart. Brother Lin, your disciple is really not simple. On the way, Xian Juyin could not help but sigh with emotion. In him, I see some similar temperament to yours. Both of you stick to your heart and stick to the path, but he's different from you. His temperament is as sharp as a sword. He seems to be extremely restrained in front of you, but when facing enemies, he won't restrain himself at all. He'd better be different from me, Lin Sun said casually. Those who learn from me will live, and those who imitate me will die. It's the best thing for him to seek his own path. Xian Juyin thought about it and could not help but ask, "Are you really not worried that he will encounter trouble in Chaotian City?" Lin Sun smiled and said, "If my disciple can't even solve these problems, it would seem that I'm too incompetent as his master." Of course, he did not tell Xian Juyin that when he left, he gave Gu Shi a jade talisman, which was imprinted with his will power. Even if he encountered a transcendent realm great perfection, it could easily kill him. Lin Sun did not delay the rest of the journey. He drove a small boat and crossed the boundless 1,000 battle domains 49 immortal passes in just an hour and entered the boundless world. 10 days later, a small boat carried Lin Sun and the others across many starry world plains. According to Lin Sun's estimation, they would arrive at the starry ancient path in another 3 days. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. From then on, Lin Sun encountered many figures trekking in the starry sky. Almost all of them were figures above the Emperor realm. Occasionally, he even saw figures of immortal figures. This surprised Lin Sun. Of course, among those immortal figures, the strongest was only in the heavenly longevity realm great perfection. They were nothing in Lin Sun's eyes. However, this was the boundless world. It had long surpassed the boundaries of the eternal world. But now, there were so many old fellows heading in the same direction. This was very abnormal. According to Lin Sun's knowledge, only the top 10 starry worlds in the boundless world had immortal figures. Most of them were old monsters who had endured for countless years on the path of cultivation. Could it be that they are going to the starry sky ancient path like us? Xian Failing joked. Maybe, Lin Sun said. Suddenly, he sensed an immortal-level aura sweeping over from the distant starry sky. He immediately went forward. "Fellow Taoist, please wait." It was a black-robed old man. His aura was extremely strong, and he was accompanied by a group of Emperor Realm figures. Originally, the black-robed old man frowned, seemingly displeased. However, when he sensed a trace of aura unintentionally leaking from Lin Sun, his body trembled. He immediately cupped his hands and greeted, "I'm Wen Tianqi from the Tianqian world." "Greetings, fellow Taoist." Lin Sun nodded slightly and said, "Pardon me for asking, but along the way, I've seen many people passing through the starry sky and heading in one direction." "Why?" Wen Tianqi was surprised. "Fellow Taoist, don't you know?" Lin Sun said, "Please enlighten me." Wen Tianqi hurriedly said, "I wouldn't dare to teach you. I only know that around 10 years ago, there was news that an unbelievable change had occurred in the ruins of End on the ancient path in the starry sky, and many peerless fortunes were born there. After a pause, he continued, but after all, it was a rumor, and few people took it seriously. But not long ago, there was conclusive news that someone obtained a heaven-defying fortune in the ultimate. It was said that it was a Taoist sword filled with eternal aura. Its origin was amazing. Speaking of this, Wen Tianqi's eyes also became hot. After such news came out, the whole boundless world knew about it. Those people you saw before should be planning to go to the ultimate to find out, just like me. Hearing this, Lin Sun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. 10 years ago, there was a shocking change in the ultimate? More updates. Chapter 3062. After thinking for a moment, Lin Sun cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." Then, he stepped aside. When Tianqi relaxed as if relieved of a heavy burden. He was sure that Lin Sun was really asking about something and not blocking the way. Goodbye. He hurried away with the people around him. When he could no longer see Lin Sun and the others, an emperor beside him asked in confusion, "Supreme Elder, who was that person just now? Why are you so polite?" When Tianqi's eyes flickered as he said, "An extremely terrifying existence. Earlier, he intentionally leaked a trace of his aura to let me know. Otherwise, with my cultivation level, I wouldn't be able to see exactly how high he is. However, what I can be sure of is that as long as he wants to, killing someone like me would be as easy as blowing off dust." Everyone around him gasped and were extremely astounded in their hearts. "Let's go." When Tianqi didn't dare to stay any longer and led the people on their way. At the beginning of the primordial times, the origin energy of the ruin's end had already dried up. Why would such a shocking change occur now? Moreover, a Tao sword that is branded with the aura of eternity has even appeared. Xian Juyin was puzzled. "I don't care about any shocking change. I'm just worried that all the strong people in the world will be attracted there, and my friends and family will be affected." Lin Sun frowned. "Let's go to the ultimate land first, then to the Xian family." Xian Juyin made a decision. Lin Sun nodded. Next, they hurried with all their might. Along the way, they met more and more figures, all moving across the starry sky like a group of whistling meteors. It was a spectacular scene. However, these figures were soon overtaken by Lin Sun's boat. Before they could see clearly, the boat had already disappeared in the vast starry sky. "We're here." Lin Sun reached the 3-day journey in just 1 day. When he saw the familiar starry sky ancient path, Lin Sun was slightly excited. It had been more than 100 years since he left the starry sky ancient path. "Brother Lin, did you notice that the rules of heaven and earth of the starry sky ancient path seem to have changed?" Xian Juyin glanced around the starry sky and couldn't help asking. "It's indeed different from before." Lin Sun nodded. The starry sky ancient path had 9 major starfields, and each starfield had numerous worlds. Among them, the central starfield where the Grand Mist world was located was the core of the starry sky ancient path. At this moment, they had only arrived at the outer region of the starry sky ancient path, but they immediately sensed that the laws of heaven and earth covering the starry sky ancient path had changed. In the past, the laws of the heavens and the earth were extremely damaged, and it was what cultivators called the heaven Tao is incomplete. So, it was to the extent that it depended on luck to be able to step foot onto the absolute path towards the Tao throughout the countless years of the past, and the strongest existence in the entire ancient path of the starry sky was merely at the imperial ancestor realm. Furthermore, he wasn't even sovereign ancestor Zhu Shui. He was only a realm 9 ancestor. It wasn't that cultivators didn't want to advance a step further on their path towards the Tao, and it was instead because the Grand Tao was incomplete. It seemed like the path towards the Tao had been broken, and it was impossible to advance a step further. At the same time, due to the incomplete laws of the world, The entire starry sky ancient path could only withstand the power of the ninth stage martial ancestor level. Once an expert that surpassed this realm appeared, it would cause a drastic change in the world. Yet now, Lin soon sensed that the laws of the heavens and the earth in the starry sky ancient path had actually become complete and powerful a long time ago. Moreover, it surged with a primitive and ancient fluctuation of vitality. The current starry sky ancient path can already support it. Immortal level power. Lin soon sensed it calmly. He probed it bit by bit, and when the energy he emanated was barely at the perfection stage of the heavenly longevity realm, it just happened to be the limit that the laws of the starry sky could endure. This was merely the outer area of the starry sky ancient path. Moreover, Lin soon sensed that the deeper he went into the starry sky ancient path, the denser the ancient vitality that suffused the laws of the heavens and the earth was. Brother Lin, this change is too shocking. Perhaps the ninth stage martial ancestor level was the supreme existence in the starry sky ancient path in the past, but now it's sufficient to give birth to existences at the immortal realm. Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but be visibly moved. Only a few years had passed, yet the starry sky ancient path had actually undergone such a shocking change, and it had completely exceeded their expectations. Over 10 years ago, this starry sky ancient path was an extremely declining starry sky, and it was ranked outside the top 100 in the vast thousand world. But according to its current trend of transformation, it'll probably become on par with the top 3 starry skies in the vast thousand world. A group of figures appeared extremely far away in the sky, and some sighed with emotion. "Ancestor, why is that?" One of them humbly asked for guidance. "Have you noticed the vitality in the laws of the heavens and the earth?" It's said that this vitality was born in the ultimate ruin of the 4 great Tao ruins, and the ultimate ruin is the origin of all Taos in the universe. If we trace its source, even the eternal true world's essence power is somewhat related to the ultimate ruin. The ultimate ruin. All of this is related to the shocking change that occurred in the ultimate ruin? That's right. 10 years ago, an unpredictable change occurred in the ultimate ruin. From then on, a primitive and ancient vitality surged out and spread through the starry sky ancient path, causing the broken laws of the heavens and the earth to transform. In just a short 10 years, the starry sky ancient path has become completely different. Isn't the ultimate ruin a little too mystical? Didn't they say that its essence power had been exhausted a long time ago? Even a withered tree will have its spring, and the ultimate ruin is one of the 4 great Tao ruins. It's not surprising that such a shocking change has occurred. Instead, the starry sky ancient path's luck has changed, and it has monopolized the kismet of the heavens. If my guess is correct, the starry sky ancient path's ranking in the vast thousand worlds will continue to rise. As they talked, the group of people had already moved to the starry sky. It turns out that all these changes are related to the ultimate ruin. Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but be surprised. It's hard to say whether it's a blessing or a curse. Lin soon frowned slightly. You've seen it along the way. Strong people from all the major starry sky of the vast thousand worlds are like sharks smelling blood. They're willing to do anything in order to compete for opportunities and good fortune. For the creatures of the starry sky ancient path, this is a great disaster. If the forces in the starry sky ancient path can't resist this invasion, the world is destined to be controlled by those outsiders in the future. They'll take over the place of the magpie's nest. Of course, in the long run, the rise of the starry sky ancient path is unstoppable. This is a blessing for all the cultivators in the world. Hearing this, Xian Jiuyin couldn't help but frown. After all, the starry sky ancient path has been declining for too long. In the past, the most powerful people were only the ninth realm ancestors. This shocking change has only lasted for more than 10 years. I'm afraid there can't be many powerful figures emerging. Under such circumstances, how can they resist the invasion of those outsiders? Monopolizing the kismet of the heavens and enjoying the good fortune, we should bear the burden. This is the general trend. Shaking his head, Lin soon stopped thinking about it and continued on his way. Brother Lin, are you just going to watch the starry sky ancient path being invaded by those outsiders? On the way, Xian Juyin couldn't help asking. We've just come back. The previous analysis is just speculation. We don't know the current situation of the starry sky ancient path. What we need to do now is to understand the situation, Lin Sun said casually. He didn't have any sense of belonging to the starry sky ancient path. On his way to rise, he was suppressed and hated by the major forces of the ancient wilderness and even the primordial world. What really made Lin Sun feel a sense of belonging was the mortal world, the world where Xiao Empire was located. Several hours later, the outline of the primordial world appeared in Lin Sun's vision. This was the first world of the starry sky ancient path, carrying many memories of Lin Sun. However, Lin Sun didn't plan to go there because he was worried about the safety of his relatives and friends. However, just as he was about to continue to teleport to the ultimate ruins, an earth-shattering sound of fighting suddenly came from the distant starry sky. Chase him. We can't let that old thing escape. Hurry up. A thunderous shout echoed in the starry sky. A figure was fleeing in the void, with a group of figures chasing after him. Along the way, Lin Sun had seen many similar scenes, so he wasn't surprised. He didn't intend to pay attention to it, but when he saw the figure being chased, he stopped. The man's body was stained with blood and was seriously injured. His thin cheeks were pale and transparent, and the Taoist sword in his hand was broken. He looked extremely embarrassed. Emperor Greenleaf? Lin Sun was stunned. In his mind, he recalled the scenes when he went to the black-yellow Taoist court to participate in the Battle of Tao. At that time, the Taoist courts held the Battle of Tao in order to select a group of young strongmen to go to the forbidden area of ancient immortals to explore opportunities. It was in the black-yellow Taoist court at that time that Lin Sun met Emperor Greenleaf. He was an old acquaintance of Rosu World and also the martial uncle of Taishu Hong, the headmaster of the black-yellow Taoist court. Lin Sun had almost forgotten these old things, but he didn't expect to see him under such circumstances. Kill. Just when Lin Sun was in a daze, Emperor Greenleaf had been caught up by the enemy and surrounded. Greenleaf, hand over the black-yellow heaven suppressing token, and I can let you die quickly. Among those enemies, the leader was a man in a gray robe. When he spoke, he waved a bronze halberd in his hand and attacked fiercely. What diffused from his body was the power of Emperor Juexian. The group of experts around the gray-robed man were either great emperors who had stepped into the peak, or Realm 9 ancestors. In the starry sky ancient path, such a lineup was amazing and could be called the existence at the top of Tao. It's over, Emperor Greenleaf felt bitter in his heart, but his expression was extremely firm. He said in a hoarse voice, even if I destroy the black-yellow heaven-suppressing token, I will never let you succeed. As he said, he took out a golden token from his sleeve and was about to destroy it. How dare you! The man in a gray robe was furious. The halberd in his hand roared and spread out the surging light of Tao. At this critical moment, he completely imprisoned and suppressed Emperor Greenleaf. Give it to me. The man in a gray robe grabbed the golden token in Emperor Greenleaf's hand. At this moment, despair appeared in Emperor Greenleaf's eyes. But also at this moment, a tall figure appeared in front of Emperor Greenleaf and said softly, Senior Greenleaf, long time no see. Chapter 3063. As the tall figure appeared, bang! The power of the gray-robed man's grab silently turned into bubbles and dissipated. Boom! Following that, the attacks of the other people nearby were all blocked and neutralized before they could even get close to him. The gray-robed man's pupils shrank as he realized something was wrong. He shouted, Who are you? How dare you stop the vast floating divine court? The scene quieted down. The gray-robed man and his companions looked gloomy and uncertain. Escaping death, Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf looked incredulously at the figure in front of him. You are Emperor Daoyuan? Lin Sun nodded. So Senior still remembers me. Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf said excitedly. It's really you. I thought it was a dream. Didn't you go to the other side of the starry sky? Lin Sun said. I just came back. Senior, who are these people? Why are they chasing you? Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf suddenly realized how dangerous the situation was. He said with a pale face, Run, they are from the mystical rising star field. There are terrifying existences at the immortal level in their force. Want to leave? Too late. Not far away, the gray-robed man who had been ignored said gloomily, What, Emperor Daoyuan? You must die for offending the vast floating divine court. Slap. An invisible palm fiercely slapped the gray-robed man's body. His body instantly exploded into pieces, and even his primordial spirit was reduced to nothingness. Xian Juyin smiled mockingly. In the past, Emperor Juexian was an existence we could only look up to. But now you are just like grass. One slap killed Emperor Juexian. The expert who came with the gray-robed man shivered, and his expression changed completely. Don't waste my master's time. As she spoke, Jintian Xianyue waved her fair hand, and a strand of sword energy swept through the starry sky. All the experts that were pursuing Imperial Ancestor Greenleaf were annihilated like pieces of paper. Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf was stunned, completely shaken. They were experts from the vast floating divine court of the mystical rising star field. But Lin Sun and his companions didn't care at all. Senior, we are safe now. Lin Sun said softly. Can you tell me why they are chasing you? Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf took a deep breath, calmed his mind, and told the whole story. 10 years ago, the shocking changes in the endless ruins attracted the attention of the major starry sky planes of the vast thousand world. Since then, the top forces of the major starry sky planes have come one after another. The vast sea divine court from the Godrise star domain was one of them. Everyone knew that after this shocking event, the ancient path of stars would undergo a heaven-shaking transformation. If one cultivated here in the future, they would definitely benefit immensely. Thus, these foreign forces made the same decision almost at the same time, to establish their own forces in the starry sky ancient path. The most direct and effective way to establish a force was undoubtedly to annex the original forces of the starry sky ancient road and replace them. That is, to occupy a magpie's nest. Under such circumstances, the starry sky ancient path's 6 great Tao courts were immediately targeted by the foreign forces. At this point in time, the Universe Tao Court, Demon Court, Panwu Tao Court, and Primordial Tao Court had been successively devoured and collapsed a long time ago, and the forces and territories they controlled were all occupied by foreign powers. Those experts who chose to submit still had a chance to live, while those who chose to resist were slaughtered without exception. The Black-Yellow Tao Court was no exception. It encountered a great disaster and was targeted by the vast Sea Divine Court. The entire sect fell apart overnight. Only a small group of people, including Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf, were lucky enough to survive. And the reason why Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf was hunted down was that he had the black-yellow heaven-suppressing token in his hand. With this treasure, he could use the power of order that covered the sect. After understanding this, Lin Sun was stunned. Originally, he had returned this time with the intention of seeking revenge on those enemy forces. For example, among the 6 great Tao courts, the Guiyuan Tao Court was established by eldest senior brother Dozhan Emperor, the Black-Yellow Tao Court had always remained neutral, and the other 4 great Tao courts were all enemies of Lin Sun. But now he knew that these enemy forces had all met with disaster. The impermanence of the world could be seen from this. Moreover, according to Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf, the 10 great war clans in the Starry Sky Ancient Path had also encountered great disasters in these years. Some died, some fled, and their fates were extremely tragic. In other words, in the current starry sky ancient path, most of the top forces that had survived for countless years had disappeared under the invasion of foreign forces. The key was that although the shocking changes in the ultimate had caused the laws of heaven and earth to change, it had also attracted the covetous eyes of the top forces of the major starry sky planes. As a result, in recent years, everywhere on the starry sky ancient path had been a bloody scene of slaughter and battle. In particular, the primordial world, which was known as the first world in the starry sky, had become a place that foreign forces fought to seize. It could be said that the current starry sky ancient path was no longer the place that Lin Sun was familiar with in the past. And the starry sky ancient path had become so turbulent it could be imagined how chaotic the situation in the ultimate, the land of origin that had undergone a shocking change, was. This made Lin Sun's heart tighten again. Everyone in the Lin family was in the core world of the ultimate, and it could be said that they were in the teeth of the storm. How could they not be affected by such a storm? Mr. I want to go home. Suddenly, Jintian Xianyue spoke, a trace of worry on her beautiful face. After understanding the situation, she clearly thought of the Jintian clan in the White Sovereign Galaxy, and her heart was filled with worry. Xian Juin sighed. Xianyue, let me say something that is critical. Back then, the Jintian clan was worried that they would be implicated by Brother Lin, so they ordered you to disassociate yourself from Brother Lin, or else you would be expelled from the clan. But you refused to do so, so you are no longer a member of the Jintian clan. Lin Sun said, breaking the bones still connects the tendons. Back then, the Jintian clan was trying to protect themselves, and although they did go overboard, it was also because of me that Miss Xianyue suffered such treatment. No matter what, there must be relatives in the Jintian clan that Miss Xianyue cares about, so it is only right for her to go back and visit them. Jintian Xuanyue's clear eyes were filled with gratitude. Mister, you understand me the best. On my way to the ultimate, we will pass by the White Sovereign Galaxy, so let's go to the Jintian clan together. Lin Sun made a decision. Then, he looked at Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf and handed a bottle of medicinal pills to him. Senior, these are healing pills, please accept them. The world is in chaos now, so please take care. Greenleaf's expression was complicated, and he refused Lin Sun's medicinal pills. Back then, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court was worried that we would get into trouble, so we have always maintained a neutral attitude, and never gave any help to Mount Mind Heart. Now that you have saved my life, I am already very surprised and grateful. How can I still accept your medicinal pills? He cupped his hands. Emperor Daoyuan, I will never forget your kindness in saving my life. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you. Goodbye. After saying that, he turned and left. The injured and broken figure looked extremely bleak and desolate. Watching him leave, Lin Sun couldn't help but sigh. Back then, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court said that they were neutral, but in fact, they were worried that they would get into trouble, so they had been watching the world from the sidelines. There was nothing wrong with this in itself. But it was obvious that Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf didn't help Lin Sun back then, and now Lin Sun saved his life, which made him feel very ashamed. That was why he refused Lin Sun's elixir and left. This Emperor Ancestor Greenleaf has some strength of character. Xian Juin said. In this world, no one can stay out of it. The mistake of the Black-Yellow Celestial Court is that they think they can remain neutral in the world situation. This attitude can indeed not offend anyone, but it is impossible to get true friendship. Lin Sun said, in the past, the Black-Yellow Celestial Court was one of the 6 major Taoist courts, so there was no need to worry about any disaster, but now, shaking his head, Lin Sun didn't say anything more. Xian Juin understood and said with a smile, if the Black-Yellow Celestial Court gave you a little help in those days, when you come back today and see them suffering such a disaster, I am afraid that you would have already gone to avenge them instead of being as indifferent as you are now. Lin Sun didn't comment. The ways of the world were like drinking water, and only one knew whether it was warm or cold. Let's go to the White Emperor Star area. Lin Sun drove a boat and took them straight on the road. There were 9 major star areas on the Starry Sky Ancient Road, and the White Emperor Star area was the closest to the Central Star area. And the Jintian clan was the first emperor clan in the White Bottom Star area. Under the invasion of the foreign forces, a great force like the Jintian clan that controlled a star area was destined to be unable to stay out of it. In fact, it was true. Recently, the Jintian clan had fallen into a precarious situation of internal and external troubles. The Daheng Sword House from the Heaven Capital World had ordered that the Jintian clan only had 2 choices: to surrender or to be exterminated. The deadline for the Jintian clan to make a decision was 3 days. The forces from the Daheng Sword House had already gathered in an area only 10,000 miles away from the Jintian clan. The army was pressing on and would be sent out at any time. At this time, there was also a serious disagreement in the Jintian clan. A group of big shots of the clan were unwilling to surrender and wanted to fight the Daheng Sword House to the end. They believed that as long as they could hold on for a period of time, a large number of powerful figures would emerge from the Jintian clan as the rules of heaven and earth became stronger and stronger, and it was very likely that a real immortal would be born. But another group of big shots opposed this. They believed that in the current situation, in order to preserve the clan's life, they had to swallow the humiliation and choose to surrender to the Daheng Sword House. This disagreement made the Jintian clan become at daggers drawn, and they were incompatible like fire and water. The Daheng Sword House gave the Jintian clan only 3 days to consider. But in just 1 day, internal strife broke out in the Jintian clan. A group of big shots led by the Great Elder, Jintian Wuhong, suddenly took action and captured the big shots led by the clan master, Jintian Jingyuan, and firmly controlled the power of the clan. On the same day, the Great Elder, Jintian Wuhong, led a group of big shots to surrender to the Daheng Sword House. Thank you, Awatara Guild Master, for your reward. I will continue to update tonight. In addition, on the 30th of the month, Goldfish will make a big profit to celebrate this month's reward. At that time, I will try to make 7 to 10 updates. Chapter 3064. The Jintian Clan. Within the clan's main hall, the Grand Elder, Jintian Wuhong, led a group of great figures and stood solemnly. On the central seat was a white-robed man that was handsome like a youth. Lightning flowed within his eyes as they blinked, and a terrifying aura suffused the air, causing everyone in the hall to tremble with fear. Fang Xiaoyun, the Daheng Sword House's supreme elder, an eternal existence that had stepped foot into the heavenly longevity realm. Even though he was just a single person, his aura oppressed all the great figures of the Jintian clan to the point of lowering their heads. If you choose to submit, then you should act like you're submitting. I heard that a group of people in your clan refuse to submit and want to fight my Daheng Sword House to the end. May I know where these people are now? Fang Xiaoyun spoke indifferently from the central seat. His words caused the expressions of Jintian Wuhong and the others to change, and they realized that the situation was bad. Senior, those sinners have been captured and imprisoned in the forbidden area of the clan, and it's impossible for them to cause any more trouble. Don't worry, Senior. From today onward, my Jintian clan will definitely follow the lead of the Daheng Sword House and obey its orders. Jintian Wuhong cupped his hands solemnly. Obey its orders? Well said. Fang Xiaoyun clapped and smiled. Since it's like that, then bring those sinners over right now. Jintian Wuhong's heart sank as he vaguely sensed what Fang Xiaoyun intended to do. What? You said you'd obey its orders just now, but you're hesitating now? Fang Xiaoyun frowned, and a terrifying pressure spread out, causing Jintian Wuhong's hairs to stand on end, and he was almost suffocating. He didn't dare hesitate any longer and gritted his teeth. Men, bring those sinners over. Yes. Someone immediately left hastily. In next to no time, the patriarch Jintian Jingyuan and over 10 great figures that had been imprisoned were brought over and appeared before Fang Xiaoyun. Jintian Wuhong shouted, "All of you quickly kneel down and repent your crimes to Senior Fang. Perhaps your lives will be spared because all of you have turned over a new leaf." Tui! Someone spat in disdain. "Jintian Wuhong, you traitor, you're bound to go down in history as a stink." Someone cursed furiously. "If you want to kill us or torture us, do as you please. But if you want us to submit to you, there's no way." Some people had calm expressions, as if they were facing death with equanimity. All of a sudden, Jin Tianwuhong and the others were both anxious and furious. These idiots, what kind of situation was it now, yet they were still clamoring like this? Did they really not want their lives anymore? Sure enough, a bunch of tough bones. On the central seat, Fang Xiaoyun's gaze was like lightning as he spoke indifferently. "Since that's the case, there's no point in staying." Jin Tianwuhong. "Yes." Jin Tianwuhong lowered his head and said. Fang Xiaoyun's expression was cold as he said, "Since all of you have chosen to submit, then I'll give all of you a chance to express your loyalty. Step forward one by one and kill a sinner of the clan. Once this matter is accomplished, the lives of your entire Jintian clan will be protected by my eternal sword house, and your meteoric rise is just around the corner." Jintian, Wuhong, and the others felt as if they were struck by lightning. They were stupefied. They were to personally take action and kill their own clansmen? This order was undoubtedly too cruel and malicious. If they really did that, they would bear the infamy of harming their own clansmen for eternity, and the Jintian clan members would mock them from behind. For a time, their expressions changed indeterminately while they struggled in their hearts, and it was extremely torturous. "Look, this is the price you have to pay for being a dog. How pitiful and humiliating is this?" The patriarch, Jintian Jingyuan, had a livid expression as he spoke coldly. "Shut up." Jintian Wuhong's eyes were bloodshot as he howled. "If it wasn't for you constantly resisting and being unwilling to submit, how could such a thing have occurred? Remember, even if I kill all of you now, it's for the sake of protecting the entire Jintian clan. Even if I have to bear the infamy of eternity, I'll accept it." Fang Xiaoyun said indifferently, "No matter how nice it sounds, it's better to take action. My patience is limited, and I'll only give all of you 10 breaths of time." 10 breaths of time. The breathing of Jintian Wuhong and the other great figures grew heavy while their eyes turned red, and they faintly carried frenzied killing intent. "Everyone, don't blame us. We're doing this for the sake of protecting the entire Jintian clan." A white-haired old man roared as he charged forward explosively and slapped a clansman. Bang! The clansman's body was instantly incinerated into nothingness. The white-haired old man gasped for breath, and he seemed to be in a daze. How could the feeling of personally killing a clansman that was related to him feel good? Good. Fang Xiaoyun clapped as he roared with laughter. "A wise man submits to circumstances. If you want to survive, then this is how it should be. Continue." With the white-haired old man taking the lead, the others didn't hesitate any longer, and they charged forward with ferocious expressions with bloodshot eyes. Even Jintian Wuhong walked forward with the intention of making a move against the patriarch, Jintian Jingyuan. Suddenly, a furious and icy cold voice resounded. "Stop!" Bang! Along with this voice, a terrifying might swept over like a storm, and it collided with Jintian Wuhong and the others, causing them to be blasted out. Some smashed onto the walls, some collided onto the stone pillars, and they were scattered all over the place. Fang Xiaoyun's eyes squinted as he stood up abruptly. A beautiful figure flashed over from outside the hall. She wore snow-white clothes and a golden belt, and she was beautiful like a celestial maiden that had walked out from a painting. Only her beautiful eyes surged with flames of rage. Xianyue. Jintian Jingyuan, who thought he would die for sure, couldn't help but cry out involuntarily when he saw who it was, and his expression was filled with disbelief. It was Jintian Xianyue, the daughter of Jintian Jingyuan. Father, I've returned. Jintian Xuanyue's eyes turned red while she felt both agitated and resentful in her heart. If she was a step later this time, then she would probably see her father's corpse. Xianyue, you've actually returned. Jintian Wu Hong, who'd fallen to the ground, crawled up with an astounded expression. He was unable to imagine that Jintian Xianyue would be able to directly blast all of them flying with just her imposing aura. She's a member of your Jintian clan as well? Asked Fang Xiaoyun. Yes. Jintian Wu Hong answered instinctively. Jintian Jingyuan's expression changed as he shouted explosively, Xianyue, leave quickly. You're not a match for the Daheng Sword House, so don't get involved. How could he be unable to discern that Jintian Xianyue had become extremely formidable now? But he was even more clearly aware of how terrifying the forces of the Daheng Sword House were. As her father, he didn't want to see Jintian Xianyue fight the Daheng Sword House with her life on the line. As long as she was alive, there would naturally be a chance for her to take revenge in the future. If she fought with her life on the line now, then her life and death would be difficult to predict. Haha, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to leave. Or perhaps, if this woman dares to leave today, then everyone in the Jintian clan will die for sure. Fang Xiaoyun smiled as if he was staring at an extremely tempting prey. On the contrary, if this woman chooses to submit to my Daheng Sword House today, then everyone in your Jintian clan will be able to live. Jintian Wu Hong spoke anxiously. Xianyue, did you hear that? So long as you submit, then your father and the others will be able to live. Xianyue, the lives of the entire clan are in your hands. Xianyue, you have to consider the overall situation. Perhaps the Jintian clan will be under your leadership in the future. The others spoke at once as well. Jintian Xuanyue's body trembled with rage. The ugliness of these clansmen caused her to almost be unable to control the killing intent in her heart. I'll deal with all of you after I deal with this person. Jintian Xianyue took a deep breath, and her clear eyes were piercingly cold as her gaze locked onto the distant Fang Xiaoyun. Don't worry, I won't allow you to die so easily. Clang! A Dao sword flashed out and swiftly slashed down towards Fang Xiaoyun. Fang Xiaoyun was originally fearless, and he thought that he could threaten Jintian Xianyue by controlling the lives of everyone in the Jintian clan. But he never imagined that Jintian Xianyue would actually attack directly. Swoosh! When this sword slashed down, even an old senior like Fang Xiaoyun who'd lived for countless years felt his heart palpitate, and he felt a strong sense of danger. His expression turned grim, and he dodged at the first possible moment. Bang! But in the next moment, his body was forcefully pressed to the ground, and he was smashed to the point the ground before him cracked apart while his entire body twitched. The Dao sword was like an eternal divine mountain, and it pressed down upon him to the point his body was on the verge of cracking apart, causing him to be unable to move. How could this be possible? Fang Xiaoyun cried out involuntarily while his pupils opened wide. I've been crushed by a single sword strike. When did such a peerless woman appear in the tiny Jintian clan? Jintian, Wu Hong, and the others were stunned and dumbstruck. A single sword strike crushed an eternal existence that was terrifying to the point others didn't dare disrespect her at all? The impact this brought to them was too great. Even Jintian, Jingyuan, and the others were fiercely shocked by this scene, and all of them were speechless. No matter how they racked their brains, they'd never imagined that after just a little over 100 years of time, Jintian Xianyue, who'd severed all ties with the clan and drawn a clear line between herself and the clan, would actually be formidable to such an extent now. The hall was deathly silent. Fang Xiaoyun howled. Doing this will only bring harm to your Jintian clan. No matter how strong you are, How could you possibly go against the might of my Daheng Sword House? Just these words alone caused the hearts of Jin Tian, Jing Yuan, and the others to tremble. Right at this moment, a burst of ridicule resounded from outside the hall. What a fucking Daheng Sword House! How dare you threaten my younger sister Xianyue? The ignorant are truly fearless. Lin Sun, Xian Juyin, and Xia Zhi's figures walked in successively, and it was precisely Xian Juyin who spoke. He had his hands behind his back as he arrived before Fang Xiaoyun, who was suppressed on the ground, and he said with pity, "I'm not afraid to tell you that everyone from the Daheng Sword House that scattered 5,000 kilometers away has been annihilated, and not a single one of them survived. Now, do you think you still have a chance to live?" "That's impossible." Fang Xiaoyun's expression changed completely. "Oh, take a look for yourself." Xian Juyin stretched out his hand and crushed a jade slip. Light flowed, and then a screen of light appeared. Within the screen of light, a dense expanse of cultivators covered the heavens and the earth as they stood there. There were over 1,000 of them, and their lineup was peerlessly formidable. Shockingly, these were the forces of the Daheng Sword House that was far away. However, along with Lin Sun's appearance and a casual flick of his sleeve, all the experts of the Daheng Sword House seemed as if they'd suffered a storm of tribulation. No matter if it was the formidable Heavenly Longevity Realm experts or the ordinary Ninth Realm ancestral ancestors, all of them were instantly obliterated. Even that expanse of heaven and earth seemed to have been erased from the world and collapsed into nothingness. This scene that could be said to be world-shocking was simply like a sledgehammer that smashed the fluke in Fang Xiaoyun's heart into pieces, and he felt as if he was about to collapse. Jin Tian, Wu Hong, and the others were completely dumbfounded. The experts of the Daheng Sword House that they thought were impossible to resist had actually been annihilated so easily? On the other hand, at this moment, Jin Tian, Jing Yuan, and the others had recognized Lin Sun, who'd annihilated the army of the Daheng Sword House, and their emotions surged while they'd completely lost control of themselves. How could they forget that it was because they were worried about being implicated by Lin Sun that the Jintian clan resolutely chose to cut ties with Jintian Xianyue? More updates. Chapter 3065. In the silent atmosphere, Jintian Xianyue ignored all kinds of eyes around and said softly, "Child, how should we deal with this person?" Lin Sun said, "Of course it's up to you. Don't worry, Daheng Sword House is not worth mentioning. Don't worry about causing me any trouble." Jintian Xianyue nodded. Buzz. The Dao sword that was pressing down on Fang Xiaoyun shook violently. The sword intent it released shattered Fang Xiaoyun's body and destroyed his primordial spirit. An immortal figure died in front of them. The bloody scene shocked all the big shots of Jintian clan present. Plop, plop. Jintian Wuhong and others, who realized that something was wrong, knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Xianyue, we are just thinking for the sake of all our clansmen. It's impossible for us to really submit to Daheng Sword House. We, your uncles, know that we have sinned. We don't ask for your forgiveness, but please give us a way to live." "Yes, Xianyue, do you remember that I watched you grow up and taught you Taoism when you were a child?" All kinds of pleas sounded. Seeing this scene, Lin Sun shook his head and turned to walk out of the hall. "Xianyue, you solve it yourself." Xia Zhi and Xian Juyin also walked out of the hall. "Xianyue is so pitiful to have such clansmen," Xian Juyin sighed softly. Lin Sun couldn't help sighing with emotion. Not to mention others, he himself had experienced many similar things. For example, when he entered the Forbidden City for the first time when he was young to solve the internal affairs of Lin family. For example, he went to the Eternal World to solve the grievances of Luo family. It was even to the extent that there were hidden dangers and chronic ailments within the Yuan sect. It seemed that this kind of thing was not uncommon in the whole world. After a quarter of an hour, Jintian Xianyue walked out of the hall. "Solved?" Xian Juyin couldn't help asking. Jintian Xianyue nodded and looked at Lin Sun, saying, child, my father said that they want to apologize to you in person, but they are worried that you will be angry and refuse to forgive them. Lin Sun said with a smile, You don't have to do that. I don't have any opinions about them. As long as you feel that you can forgive them, that's enough. Jin Tianxianyue nodded. I understand. Lin Sun said gently, Don't think too much about it. I don't care about what they did in the past, but I've always felt that I've let you down. If you're worried about these people, when we return to the eternal true world, we can just leave with them. At that time, Jin Tianxianyue resolutely chose to draw a clear line with her clan for Lin Sun. Since then, she had been with him all the time. She experienced all kinds of hardships and bloodshed, but she never complained or asked for anything from him. How could Lin Sun not be moved? In fact, he often felt guilty for letting her down. He once whipped a famous horse in a drunken stupor for fear of burdening a beauty. Really? Jin Tianxuanyue's eyes lit up as he exclaimed in surprise. She didn't dare to make this request before, for fear that Lin Sun would feel conflicted. But she never thought that Lin Sun would take the initiative to make it. Lin Sun patted her on the shoulder with a smile and said, Xian Yu, don't try to guess my mind so carefully in the future. Whatever you want to do, as long as I can promise you, I will help you. Jin Tianxianyue nodded and revealed an intoxicating smile from the bottom of her heart. She said, I understand. Xian Jiuyin, who was at the side, was anxious. What do you know? Do you dare to say what you want the most right in front of Lin Sun? Unfortunately, Jin Tianxianyue didn't do so. It was as if Lin Sun's promise to bring the Jin Tian clan away had already made her feel extremely happy and satisfied. In just 2 hours, all the Jin Tian clan members were gathered and placed in the treasure that Jin Tianxianyue carried with her. An immortal Dao treasure could contain a small world, so it was more than enough to bring all the Jin Tian clan members. Of course, the Jin Tian clan paid the price of all the properties and forces in the White Sovereign Galaxy. But as long as they could go to the eternal world, it was already a great fortune that could change the fate of the clan. It was worth mentioning that Jin Tian Wuhong and the other important figures of the Jin Tian clan were all sentenced to death for betraying the clan. After doing all this, Lin Sun and the others didn't waste any time and continued on their journey. Soul Oblivion Sea. The sky was high and the clouds were vast. The space rippled, and Lin Sun and the others appeared out of nowhere. This was the 3rd time Lin Sun stepped into this place after so many years. Everything has changed almost immediately. Lin Sun felt the surging power of the rules of heaven and earth shrouding the void, emitting an astonishing primitive and ancient life force. He remembered that the last time he returned, he had to suppress his cultivation to the quasi-emperor perfection realm to adapt to the rules of heaven and earth here. The reason was that the rules of heaven and earth above the Soul Oblivion Sea couldn't withstand the power above the Emperor realm, or else it would cause chaos. But now, Lin Sun's transcendent realm perfection realm cultivation didn't feel any suppression or discomfort. Without a doubt, the rules of heaven and earth in the Soul Oblivion Sea could withstand the peak of the immortal level. This was shocking. In just a short 10 years, the Tao aura here is so dense that it's almost catching up to the 6th heaven of the eternal world. This change is too huge, Lin Sun couldn't help but gasp. When he first arrived at the outer region of the starry ancient path, the changes in the rules of heaven and earth were already shocking. When he arrived at the Soul Oblivion Sea where the ultimate was, the rules of heaven and earth were completely different, giving Lin Sun the illusion that he had entered the eternal world. It's really incredible. Xian Jiuyin and Jin Tianxianyue couldn't help but be moved. Only Xia Ji was as quiet as before, completely unconcerned about all this. A cultivator's cultivation will definitely improve at a godly speed in such a place, and it's the easiest for the heavens and the earth to give birth to rare spirit veins, divine materials, and divine herbs. Even though this sort of upheaval has merely continued for 10 years, To some cultivators that are trapped within their own cultivation realms, such an extraordinary upheaval of the heavens and the earth would definitely allow them to rise rapidly on their path towards the Tao and break through repeatedly. Lin Sun said, I just don't know what the ultimate will be like. Brother Lin, as early as 70 years ago, your Lin family had already entered the ultimate in advance and settled in the core ruins. When that shocking change occurred in the ultimate, the Lin family would definitely be the first to benefit. Xian Juyin smiled. What's more, you've already left for more than 100 years. The Lin family's strength has probably already undergone a tremendous change. Even if many external forces invaded, there wouldn't be any problems. I hope so. As Lin Sun spoke, he had already stepped forward. He was too familiar with the Soul Oblivion Sea, and he was very clear about the location of the ultimate. Not long after he moved forward, Lin Sun's divine sense captured the aura of many cultivators scattered in different seas. These cultivators were obviously from different powers, and they occupied numerous islands in the oceanic domain. They seemed to intend to conquer the oceanic domain. It seemed like they were going to stay for a long time. Those islands were all set up with restrictive formations, and they were built like a paradise. Although the Soul Oblivion Sea was the first to benefit from the shocking change in the ultimate, it would indeed bring immeasurable benefits to cultivation if we establish a cave residence here and establish a Taoist orthodoxy. Lin Sun seemed to be lost in thought. As they got closer and closer to the ultimate, the aura of the cultivators they sensed along the way became stronger and stronger. Obviously, only those with powerful forces and profound cultivation could occupy the position closest to the ultimate. Boom! A wave of battle suddenly sounded in the distance. Lin Sun looked up and saw that it was the cultivators of two forces fighting. It seemed that they were fighting for the ownership of an island in the sea. The battle was extremely fierce, and the seawater was dyed red. There were also many cultivators watching from afar as if they were used to it. I'm afraid this sea will be designated as the territory of the daunting world's Aqua Cloud Sword Pavilion. This is already the 49th battle of forces in the past month, right? Exactly. As the news of the shocking change in the ultimate spreads, the top forces of the various starry skies in the vast thousand world have been attracted here. Just wait and see. As time passes, the sea near the ultimate is destined to undergo round after round of reshuffling. Don't think that those forces can occupy an island now, but it might be snatched away tomorrow. Listening to those discussions, Lin Sun and the others also felt a different atmosphere. The Soul Oblivion Sea had become a fat piece of meat that the major forces fought over. Everyone wanted to occupy a mountain and control a part of the sea. Battles and killings occurred frequently. Such a bloody and turbulent situation made Lin Sun worry more and more about the Lin family. Bro, let me ask you something. Xian Juyin grabbed a man who was watching the battle and asked. This man was dressed in a silver robe. He was also an emperor ancestor and was a top existence below the sempiternal realm. Being grabbed by Xian Juyin made him shocked and furious, but when he met Xian Juin's eyes, he shuddered and immediately changed his clothes. His expression became respectful and nervous as he said, Senior, may I ask what you want to know? What's the situation at the ultimate? Xian Juyin asked directly. The silver-robed man hurriedly said, Senior, the entrance to the ultimate is still occupied and sealed by the 7 major forces. It has been a year and no one has been able to break through the defense line of the 7 major forces. Instead, they have been utterly defeated. As a result, no one has dared to go forward recently. 7 major forces? Which 7? Xian Juyin raised his brows. The silver-robed man was about to answer when he was interrupted by Lin Sun. That's not important. Let me ask you, has anyone killed their way into the secret world of the ultimate? The silver-robed man's pupils shrank as he said in shock, You mean the primeval Dao sect's territory? Lin Sun and Xian Juyin looked at each other and nodded. That's right. The silver-robed man said. The primeval Tao sect is a tough nut to crack. A few years ago, the 7 major forces had joined forces to attack them many times but were stopped outside the secret world of the ultimate. It is said that it is the lair of the orthodoxy of Mount Heart and is extremely difficult to conquer. Now, the 7 major forces can only watch helplessly. After confirming that the secret world of the ultimate was not broken, Lin Sun no longer had the mood to listen to the rest of the conversation. The worry in his heart dissipated. It was also at this moment that he felt relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Chapter 3066. The silver-robed man suddenly said, "Oh right, I heard that the 7 forces stationed at the entrance of the ultimate will launch a new round of attacks on the primeval Tao sect." Xian Juyin scoffed. "They're really getting braver with every setback." His voice was full of contempt. The silver-robed man said seriously, "Senior, the 7 forces operation this time cannot be underestimated. I heard that they will send all their undying figures to work together. Each undying figure will carry an order treasure of unfathomable power. They want to break open the secret dimension of the primeval Tao sect in one go." Xian Juyin grunted and looked at Lin Sun. "Thank you." Lin Sun casually tossed a treasure to the silver-robed man and flew off with Xian Juyin and the rest. The silver-robed man was stunned. He didn't expect to be rewarded just by answering a question that everyone knew. He looked down at the palm-sized silver flying sword in his hand and his expression changed. An immortal Tao weapon. The silver-robed man sucked in a breath of cold air. He quickly glanced around and put the silver flying sword into his pouch without batting an eyelid. When he thought of the people he had seen earlier, his heart started to beat violently. To be able to give away an immortal Tao weapon so casually, those people, just how terrifying were their backgrounds? Immediately after, the silver-robed man grinned. "The heavens have favored me and actually sent such a fortuitous encounter to me. For an ancestor like him, obtaining an immortal Tao weapon was absolutely no different from obtaining a great fortune." "Brother Lin, you can finally relax now, right?" Xian Juyin asked with a smile on the way. "How can I truly relax without seeing those friends and family?" Lin Sun said casually. Zhao Jingxian, Lin Fan, Lin Zhong, Old Toad, Alu, Ahu, Little Silver and Little Tian appeared in his mind. The closer he was to home, the more timid he felt. This subtle emotion was also lingering in Lin Sun's mind. Along the way, they also saw many cultivators flying through the void towards the ultimate. Are the 7 forces really going to make a move soon? Several years have passed and the secret realms around the ultimate have been explored by the forces of the 7 forces. They have obtained many miraculous fortunes. However, if they want to head deeper into the sinkhole, they must first take down the primordial Tao sect that is blocking their way. They can no longer wait. Is the Yuan Shi Dao sect really that powerful? It's said that this orthodoxy was founded by a legendary figure known as the Dao Yuan Emperor. This person is the successor of Mount Fangcuan. Many years ago, he dominated the starry sky ancient path. His name shook the world, and he achieved many legendary feats. He was known as the #1 emperor of the starry sky ancient path. Of course, this is all in the past. It is said that the Dao Yuan Emperor left the ancient path in the galaxy a long time ago and headed to the eternal true world. As for the primordial beginning Dao sect, it had already established itself in the sinkhole many years ago. It had the advantage of being in the right place at the right time. Before the upheaval in the sinkhole happened, the primordial beginning Dao sect had already taken action and obtained many unexpected heaven-defying opportunities. According to what I know, there are at least 3 powerful figures who have stepped into the immortal realm in the primeval Dao sect. One is called Jindi, one is called Alu, and the last is called Zhao Jingxian. That's right, Zhao Jingxian is the Dao Yuan Emperor's wife. Right now, she has the final say in the entire primordial Dao sect. Along the way, Lin Sun and the others heard all kinds of discussions. Originally, Lin Sun had planned to rush at full speed. But he was no longer in a hurry. Brother Lin, I did not expect Miss Jing Xian to have already reached the immortal realm, Xian Juyin said in surprise. Lin Sun was also rather happy. He said, Jing Xian has the bloodline of the true dragon and obtained the origin dragon blood left behind by her ancestor. When I was still in the ancient desolation region, she had already reached the emperor realm. Now that more than 100 years have passed, and with the upheaval in the sinkhole, it is only natural that she has reached the immortal realm. Xian Juyin could not help but glance at Jintian Xianyue. When he saw that the latter was listening quietly and did not show any abnormalities, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Zhao Jingxian was Lin Sun's first wife and the woman who had been with Lin Sun the earliest. If he had any conflict with her, there would be many twists and turns. It has been more than 100 years, and they still call you the Dao Yuan Emperor. If they knew of your current level of cultivation and identity, they would probably be shocked. Jintian Xianyue smiled sweetly. Lin Sun sneered. It has only been 100 years. For some old people, it is not even enough time for one session of seclusion. But for me, too many things have happened in the past 100 years. If I had not chosen to go to the eternal true world, I would not have been able to achieve what I have today. That's right. Now that the sinkhole has changed, the ancient path of the universe is indeed different from before. But compared to the eternal true world, it is still much weaker. Xian Juyin agreed deeply. If Miss Xianyue and I had not gone to the primordial realm, it would have been impossible for us to step on the path of immortality so easily. The sinkhole may not be as strong as the eternal true world now, but it is hard to say in the future. Lin Sun pondered. In a short 10 years, the sinkhole's upheaval had changed the ancient path of the universe. As time passed, more and more changes would occur in the world. That is hard to say. Don't forget, the calamity of an epoch will descend within 1,000 years. Xian Juyin said. I suspect that the upheaval in the sinkhole has something to do with the impending calamity of an epoch. Lin Sun's eyes narrowed. He had the same guess in his heart, but he did not dare to confirm it. Just like that, as they conversed, the sound of a horn suddenly resounded in the distance. Woo, woo, woo! The atmosphere in the world became solemn and murderous. A storm was brewing. Lin Sun looked up and saw that in the distant sea there was a huge abyss. The seawater nearby silently surged into it and disappeared without a trace. There was not a single wave. That was the entrance to the sinkhole. It had a circumference of 100,000 feet and was extremely vast. On the other hand, a dense expanse of cultivators were stationed in the vicinity of the entrance to the bottomless abyss, and they were divided into 7 groups. Every single group had over 1,000 cultivators, and they respectively controlled a region of the sea in the vicinity of the bottomless abyss. Among these 7 camps, the weakest had the cultivation of a 9th realm ancestor. There were countless Juetian emperor ancestors, and there were even immortals among them. Such a vast formation was simply like a divine army from the various worlds, and merely the aura they emitted caused others to be awed at the sight of it. And in places further away from the sinkhole, there were also many cultivators watching from afar, not daring to approach. Those cultivators who rushed over like Lin Sun also stood far away, their expressions filled with shock, fear, and awe. They were the 7 strongest forces from the major starry sky planes of the vast 1,000 worlds. In these years, countless forces had tried to enter the sinkhole, but they could not break through the defense line of the 7 forces. Instead, they were buried. It was unknown how many tyrannical figures had died, dyeing the nearby sea red. So far, no one dared to enter. Such a lineup is almost comparable to the immortal emperor clan of the 6th heaven. Lin Sun could not help but be surprised. Of course, the immortal emperor clan of the 6th heaven had Nirvana realm existences. This was something that the seven forces could not compare to. After all, the strongest among them was only a heavenly longevity realm great perfection. Naturally, Lin Sun didn't care about these forces at all. In the past few years, he broke into the eighth heaven and slaughtered many people. Many transcendent realm great perfection existences died in his hands. Even the eternal realm's Dharma idol had to suffer under his hands. Brother Lin, they are blowing the horn. This is a sign that they are planning to attack. Are they planning to kill their way into the secret core realm today? Xian Juin said. Between the heavens and the earth, the majestic sound of the horn surged, the void rumbled, and a murderous aura covered the sky. In the camp of the seven forces, immortals rose into the sky one after another. Behind them, immortal divine halos emerged, like a ruler descending to the world, attracting the attention of everyone present. Many people revealed a look of awe. Immortal, to the cultivators of the various starry sky planes of the vast thousand worlds, they were already like the overlords of the heavens. Don't worry, let's watch. Lin Sun said casually. He, Xiaji, Xianjuin, and Jintian Xianyue all concealed their auras and stood far away, not attracting much attention. Everyone, if we join forces today, we will definitely be able to break through the secret core realm's barrier. This old man only has a small suggestion. After killing our way into the secret core realm, we must destroy the primordial Dao sect. A red-robed, black-haired man stood in the air, holding a jade cauldron with purple light flowing around it. His divine aura was terrifying and domineering. Of course! A mere primordial Dao sect wants to monopolize the ruins of N's fortune. All these years, they have been obstructing us from investigating. Their actions have already angered the heavens. If we don't destroy them today, we won't be able to quell the hatred in our hearts. Some immortal figures were filled with murderous intent, not concealing it at all. The immortal aura on their bodies surged into the sky, stirring up the winds and clouds in all directions. The cultivators watching from afar held their breaths, realizing that an unprecedented battle would erupt today. How could the primordial Dao sect withstand the combined forces of the seven forces? When Xian Juin saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. He was eager to give it a try. Brother Lin, why don't I go and take care of them now? Jintian Xianyue said, you are also at the celestial longevity realm. Can you handle so many old fellas by yourself? Xian Juin said impatiently, Xianyue, can our immortal path be the same as theirs? What's more, before I left this time, my great ancestor gave me many trump cards. Any one of them can kill them over 100 times in a minute. Jintian Xianyue pursed his lips into a smile and didn't say anything else. How boastful! After so many years, all of you have been stopped here. Don't you think it's embarrassing for you to be so arrogant now? Suddenly, a figure rushed out of the ultimate. His loud laughter shook the heavens, and his voice echoed throughout the heavens and earth. There was a wild and arrogant aura spreading from him. This person wore a green robe and his eyes were golden. He was handsome like a young man as he swaggered above the ruins of End. His gaze swept across the crowd as if there was no one else around. His arrogant attitude attracted everyone's attention. I will continue to update tonight. Chapter 3067. Xian Juin was surprised to see the green-robed young man overlooking the crowd. Who is this guy? He looks so arrogant. Lin Sun laughed. My brother Jin Di. Lin Sun laughed. My brother Jin Di, I call him Old Toad. He is a descendant of the three-legged golden toad. He has been living in the Soul Oblivion Sea since ancient times. When I first came to the Soul Oblivion Sea when I was young, I got to know him through a fight. His eyes were filled with reminiscence. He had just met Zhao Jingxian and accompanied her and her sect to explore the ultimate in the Soul Oblivion Sea. At that time, everyone was in the prime of their lives, promising and promising. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of years had passed. No wonder. Xian Juin laughed. How could Lin Sun's brother be ordinary? Jin Di, it seems that your Yuanshi Taoist sect can't sit still anymore. Otherwise, why would you jump out in such a hurry? The red-robed black-haired man said coldly. The immortal figures of the 7 forces gathered together. There were more than a dozen of them. They stood in the void and blocked the ultimate. Their chi locked on Jin Di. Jin Di said coldly, "What a joke. I think you can't sit still anymore. That's why you decided to join hands today." The red-robed black-haired man snorted, "Things have to come to an end." Jin Di suddenly laughed and said, "In that case, I have a suggestion. To avoid unnecessary casualties, why don't we make a bet?" "How?" The red-robed black-haired man raised his eyebrows. Jin Di said without hesitation, "The 7 major factions will choose 3 people, and the primordial Tao sect will choose 3 people. There will be 3 battles. If the primordial Tao sect wins, you will immediately leave this place. If the primordial Tao sect loses, we will no longer stop you from exploring the sinkhole." For a moment, the red-robed black-haired man and the others hesitated. They naturally knew that if they attacked the secret realm of heart with all their strength, they might win in the end, but there would be immeasurable casualties. It seems that the Yuanshi Taoist sect also feels threatened and can't hold on any longer. Otherwise, why would they take such a compromise? Xian Juin sighed. Lin Sun nodded calmly. "What, you don't dare to bet?" Seeing that no one answered for a long time, Jin Di frowned. However, the red-robed black-haired man suddenly sneered. "In the current situation, we already have the upper hand. Why should we gamble?" Jin Di's face darkened. "Do you really want to fight to the death? A life-and-death struggle? No, your primordial beginning Tao sect is destined to be eliminated today," someone said in a cold voice. "This guy is purposely using a bet to protect the Yuanshi Tao sect. Everyone, don't fall for it." Someone chuckled. "Then what are you waiting for? Let's kill this evil creature first." Someone attacked right away, waving a long black rod and moving through the void towards Jin Di. "Do it." Almost at the same time, the other Immortal Realm experts also attacked. The spectators in the distance couldn't help but take a deep breath. These Immortal Realm existences weren't easy to fool. They attacked without warning. Rumble, rumble, the world shook. The light of the immortal way raged like a hurricane. The dazzling light mixed with the unfathomable power of the Tao soldiers enveloped Jin Di and the others like a tide. "Then let's fight to the death. I'll wait for you in the secret core world." Jin Di's expression changed slightly and he was about to leave. He was only at the heavenly longevity realm. He was confident that he could deal with a few opponents at the same level as him. However, against the combined attack of more than 10 Immortal Realm experts, he was destined to be unable to handle it. Therefore, he decided to retreat to the secret core world first. However, just as he was about to retreat, there was a loud rumble. Countless spiderweb-like order power appeared in the void nearby, transforming into a giant net that covered the sky and locked the space around the entrance of the ultimate. Jin Di's path of retreat was also sealed, causing his body to stagnate. For a moment, he couldn't escape from the locked order power. "Ha ha, you don't even know that you're walking right into a trap. Once I kill you, I'll go and destroy the Yuanshi Tao sect." Amidst the arrogant laughter, more than 10 Immortal Realm experts attacked together. Rumble! A terrifying Tao light whizzed over. Jin Di gritted his teeth, his long hair flying in the wind. He decided to fight with his life. "You think I'm afraid of you? Even if I die, I'll drag you guys down with me." At this critical moment, Jin Di felt his body lighten, and he was grabbed through the air, disappearing from the entrance of the ultimate. Rumble! The surrounding powers and Tao soldiers instantly missed their target. They only caused a destructive tide of energy to spread out in the surroundings. Where is he? Damn it! My clan's order power has been destroyed. Who saved him? This sudden scene caught those undying beings off guard, and they were surprised and bewildered. It wasn't just them. The powerhouses of the seven forces and the spectators far away were all shocked. What was going on? Jean D himself was stunned. He felt his vision blur, and he was uncontrollably taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a nearby ocean region. Then, his eyes widened and he almost jumped up. Big brother? What, it's only been 100 years and you don't recognize me? Lin Sun laughed. Of course, he was the one who attacked earlier. Jean D's handsome face was ecstatic and he laughed out loud. It really is you. Oh my, I'm not dreaming, am I? Saying so, he slapped his thigh. Feeling the pain, he finally knew this wasn't an illusion. Seeing Old Toad lose his composure, Lin Sun's heart was in turmoil. He patted Old Toad's shoulder. I know the situation now, leave the rest to me. Old Toad nodded and shouted, those are more than 10 immortal realm old farts, I'll fight with you. Xianjuin couldn't help but say, brother, let's just watch from the side. Don't you want to see how powerful your big brother has become in these years? Old Toad was stunned. It was also at this time that the dozen or so undying beings discovered Old Toad's track. Their eyes all looked over in unison, their expressions darkening. Someone frowned and scolded, who are you? How dare you get involved in the grudge between us and the primeval Tao sect? Are you tired of living? Their eyes swept over Lin Sun, Xiaji, Xianjuin, and the others. They found that they all looked unfamiliar, but the immortal realm aura emanating from Lin Sun made them shiver. The experts of the seven forces and those watching from afar all looked over, their expressions filled with surprise. They couldn't believe that there were still outsiders who dared to get involved in such a situation. Hee. Xianjuin laughed, his expression full of pity. He couldn't be bothered to argue with them anymore. In these years, have there been any casualties in our primeval Tao sect? Lin Sun asked casually. Jean D shook his head. No, we've been guarding the secret world of Core all these years. With the protection of the secret world of Core, no one has been harmed so far. Lin Sun instantly relaxed and revealed a smile. That's good. Seeing that they were chatting as if no one else was around, ignoring everyone present, the group of Immortal Realm experts' expressions became even gloomier. Who are you? Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble here? The red-robed black-haired man's voice was cold. His murderous intent surged and a terrifying aura spread in this direction. Lin Sun glanced at them and said, you should be glad that our Lin family didn't suffer any casualties. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to keep you here today. Arrogant. I'd like to see what gives you the right to be so arrogant. A ferocious old man shouted. He took out a golden Taoist seal in his hand and smashed it through the air. Boom. The golden Taoist seal soared through the air, releasing a power that made the earth tremble and the seawater boil. That power made countless people shudder. However, Lin Sun didn't move. The golden Taoist seal suddenly stopped 10 feet away from him. It couldn't move an inch, as if it had hit an unshakable wall. Bang! Following that, the golden Taoist seal exploded in the void, and light rained down from the sky. An immortal Tao weapon was destroyed just like that. This strange and terrifying scene made Jean D dumbfounded. This completely subverted his imagination. In the distance, as the golden Taoist seal exploded, the ferocious old man was affected and coughed out a mouthful of blood. The other Immortal Realm experts' expressions changed as well. They realized something was wrong. Attack together. Almost subconsciously, the red-haired black-robed man shouted. Kill! They moved together. They took out their Taoist weapons and released their Taoist technique. Their immortal Tao was fully activated as they pointed their spears at Lin Sun. Rumble, the world turned upside down. The sun and moon lost their light. The terrifying torrent of immortal Tao power made countless spectators scream and retreat in panic. You're courting death. Lin Sun's lips curved coldly. He reached out his hand and grabbed. Suddenly, the various Taoist techniques were crushed like paper. They blossomed into a dazzling rain of light that lit up the world. Bang bang bang! One by one, the immortal Tao weapons were crushed. Jade cauldrons, swords, spears, they all turned into scrap metal under this grab. The 10 immortal realm experts were affected. They all coughed up blood, their expressions changed and their souls almost left their bodies. The power of one grab crushed their power like a hot knife through butter. This made them sense a deadly threat. They were shocked and realized that they had kicked a metal plate this time. Jean D felt dizzy. He felt like his brain couldn't handle it. How terrifying was his cultivation to be able to do this so easily. This was unbelievable. The heavens and the earth were perfectly silent. The distant spectators were shocked into a daze, and they were in a daze. Such a strike was simply like the hand of the heavens descending into the world, and it was invincible. When they looked at Lin Sun again, their eyes were filled with fear. Who was he? What kind of monstrous power did he have? In this deathly silent atmosphere, Lin Sun opened his mouth. It would be a pity to kill you all. Never mind, I'll leave you all alive. You can be used as whetstones for Yuanshi Dao sect. As he spoke, his sleeves fluttered. Then, the 10 immortal realm experts in the distance were trapped in the void like flies. They couldn't move at all. They all turned into beams of light and disappeared into Lin Sun's fluttering sleeves. The thousands of experts from the 7 major forces felt their vision go black. Their bodies flew up uncontrollably and disappeared into Lin Sun's sleeves like a tide. In the blink of an eye, the 7 major forces seemed to have evaporated from the world. There wasn't a single trace left. More updates for you. Chapter 3068. World in the Sleeve. However, the magical power that Lin Sun used was insane. In a blink of an eye, all the cultivators of the 7 forces were taken away. Even the powerful immortals were taken away as if they were ants. Jean D was stunned and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. The spectators in the distance felt like they were struck by lightning. They were so shocked by this shocking scene that they lost their minds. The 7 forces were the top forces of the vast thousand world. They had been controlling the seas around the ultimate for many years, and no one could shake them. Especially those immortals, who were so powerful that the mere mention of them made people pale. But now they were all taken away like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaf. No one was spared. Who could remain calm in front of such an unbelievable scene? Only Xian Juyin and Jin Tian Xianyue looked normal. If these people knew what happened in the eternal world, they probably wouldn't be so surprised. Xia Ji had been eating melon seeds from beginning to end. The spiritual melon seeds Lin Sun made for her looked, smelled, and tasted good. She had been obsessed with them recently. As for other things, she really didn't care. It wasn't that she was lazy, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. At that moment, Lin Sun seemed to have done something extremely ordinary. He scanned the surroundings and said, "For the next 3 days, no one is to appear within a 500-kilometer radius of the sinkhole. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." His voice spread out clearly, sweeping across the surface of the sea and spreading into the distance. At this moment, the cultivators of many forces scattered across the soul oblivion sea, whether they were fighting or cultivating in seclusion, powerful immortals, or other cultivators, all heard this voice that was filled with great pressure and shook their minds. For a moment, everyone's expression changed. Who gave such a domineering order? Lin Sun didn't care about this. After he finished speaking, he looked at Jean D and said with a smile, "Old toad, what are you waiting for? Lead the way." Jean D seemed to wake up from a dream and immediately led Lin Sun and the others into the ultimate. It wasn't until their figures disappeared that the spectators in the distance gradually came back to their senses. Then, the atmosphere in the field boiled. My God! The forces of the 7 forces were swept away just like that? Who is that person? How terrifying is his cultivation? Could it be an old monster at the Nirvana God realm? His surname is Lin. Could it be? Amidst the discussion, someone suddenly screamed in excitement. It's him, the Dao Yuan Emperor! He's back! Dao Yuan Emperor! All of a sudden, the experts from the forces outside the starry sky ancient path thought of one person. Lin Daoyuan, the first venerable emperor of the starry sky ancient path, had once dominated the starry sky ancient path for a period of time. He was Fang Xiuwen's successor, the founder of the primeval Dao sect, and a widely recognized legend. Yes, it must be the Dao Yuan Emperor. The primordial Dao sect was originally founded by him for the Lin family. Now that he has returned and seen the primordial Dao sect being besieged, it is reasonable for him to take action. Many people were excited. When the Dao Yuan Emperor left, he was only at the Emperor realm. It has only been 100 years, but his cultivation has become so powerful, someone was trembling. With a wave of his sleeves, he swept through the 7 great forces like a whirlwind sweeping away clouds. He was like a god from the heavens. The news spread like a storm, and it spread across the Soul Oblivion Sea on the same day. Lin Daoyuan, he is so powerful? The experts from the foreign forces were shocked by Lin Sun's domineering methods. Who would not be afraid of the 7 top forces swept through with a wave of his sleeves? This is troublesome. With Lin Daoyuan around, who can go to the ultimate to search for opportunities? The foreign forces realized the seriousness of the problem. Ha ha ha, the Dao Yuan Emperor is finally back. The starry sky ancient path has finally ushered in a new dawn. To the cultivators of the starry sky ancient path, Lin Sun's return made them feel excited and happy. In these years, the foreign forces had invaded the starry sky ancient path on a large scale, setting off a reign of terror across the world. It caused unrest everywhere, and the people were plunged into misery and suffering. Especially in the Soul Oblivion Sea of the lower realm, in order to occupy the opportunities in the ultimate, the foreign forces had caused countless killings. The natives of the lower realm were naturally the first to bear the brunt, and countless people were slaughtered. Before Lin Sun's return, the people of the world felt sad and desperate, thinking that the starry sky ancient path would be controlled by the foreign forces in the future. But now it was different. The Dao Yuan Emperor's return is bound to set off a reckoning. Just wait, the calamity of the foreign forces has arrived. As the news spread, countless cultivators who had been oppressed and humiliated by the foreign forces could not help but feel hopeful, looking forward to the day when the foreign forces would face a calamity. Now, the sinkhole was the focus of everyone's attention. The shocking news of Lin Sun's return and the destruction of the 7 major forces quickly spread to the various starfields and worlds of the starry sky ancient path. For a time, it set off a great uproar. The ultimate. The entrance to the secret world of Kor. Alu paced back and forth, waiting nervously. His majestic figure was tall, and his skin surged with powerful immortal fluctuations. The big black bird lay on the iron pot on his back and sighed. Look at how anxious you are. With such a temperament, I really don't know how a blockhead like you managed to set foot on the immortal Tao. You thieving bird, what the hell do you know about temperament? Alu spat. That's right, this thieving bird only knows how to make sarcastic remarks. When something big happens, he'll be at a loss. Not far away, Little Silver crossed his arms in front of his chest, a look of disdain on his face. He was still a few inches tall, and his little face was incomparably handsome. He stood on the shoulder of a young girl. The girl's eyes were big and watery, and her skin was as white as sheep fat. She was extremely beautiful, and she was reserved and shy. The girl was little Tian, transformed from the demonic sky-split butterfly. In her arms there was a round little fellow nestled. Flames curled around his body, and he had round eyes, a round nose, and a round mouth. This was of course Chirp. Kill your way out if you can. Kill all the 7 major forces. I promise I'll kowtow to you, the big blackbird said lazily. The big blackbird said lazily, If you don't have the ability, then don't laugh at me. Alu raised his eyebrows, clenched his fist, and prepared to beat the big black bird. Just then, there was a ripple in space. Whoosh! Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked over in unison. When they saw Jean Duy's figure appear unscathed, they all breathed a sigh of relief. However, before they could ask about the news of the outside world, they were all stunned. Immediately after Jean Duy, another tall figure appeared. He was dressed in moon-white clothes, indifferent and otherworldly. He was so familiar that everyone present couldn't help but feel like they were dreaming, and they all stared at him with wide eyes. As for the following figures Xia Ji, Xian Jiuyin, and Jin Tian Xianyue, they were all ignored. Old Toad coughed and said, "What's wrong? Don't you recognize my big brother?" All of a sudden, Alu rushed up, spread out his rock-like arms, and hugged the tall figure, shouting, "Big brother! You're finally back!" Chirp, Chirp, nestled in little Tian's arms, turned into a flame and rushed over. Its round body easily squeezed into Alu's arms, and it kept chirping happily. "Master!" Little Silver grinned brightly and flew to Lin Sun's shoulder. "Master!" Little Tian rushed over, his long eyelashes trembling slightly. His big pure eyes were full of excitement and surprise, and he looked a little at a loss. Clang! The big black bird's head hit the big black pot, and it jumped up as if it had been frightened. It flapped its wings and shouted, "My God, what did I see? Is there something wrong with my eyesight?" Further away, Little Five and Leaf, who were busy setting up the restriction, stopped what they were doing at the same time, and their faces were full of surprise. "Master!" Formation Spirit Little Five flew over and danced around Lin Sun. Leaf, on the other hand, was much calmer, but he couldn't hide his joy and excitement. Lin Sun couldn't help smiling when he saw so many familiar companions as soon as he entered the secret realm of mind. He was so happy that he felt happier than if he had killed a formidable enemy. Seeing this scene, Old Toad also couldn't stop laughing. Xian Jiuyin and Jin Tian Xianyue looked at each other and laughed. The scene of reunion after a long time was indeed very infectious. By the way, I forgot to tell you that the 7 forces stationed at the entrance of the ultimate have been suppressed by Big Brother. Speaking of this, Old Toad stared at the big black bird. "Damn bird, what did you say just now? You said that as long as the enemy is destroyed, you will kowtow?" Everyone was stunned. The 7 forces had been suppressed? If Old Toad hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have dared to believe it. At the same time, the big black bird's expression froze, and it hurriedly explained, "I was talking about them, not Lin Sun. If I knew he was back, Master Bird wouldn't have said that. Anyway, the 7 forces have been destroyed. This is a great thing. Don't talk about kowtowing again." Everyone couldn't help laughing. The big black bird had always been like this, and they were already used to it. "Big brother, everyone missed you so much these years." Alu grinned. "By the way, don't stay here. Let's go back. Sister-in-law and the others are still waiting for Old Toad's news in the assembly hall." "Okay." Lin Sun nodded. The group immediately rushed forward. Compared to back then, the secret dimension of the core dimension was completely different. Thick and vigorous primordial vitality transformed into divine rays of light that covered the sky, sprinkling down the pure, surging primordial aura of the great Tao. Mountains rose and fell on the ground, winding like dragons. Every blade of grass and tree that grew on them glowed with an astonishing aura of divinity and vitality. Not far from the core dimension was the mountain gate of the primeval Taoist sect. Row upon row of buildings were built along a divine mountain. There were alchemy rooms, herb gardens, training grounds, sutras, preaching pavilions, and so on. Apart from these, there were also cave mansions in different locations, giving off a grand atmosphere of paradise and immortal treasures. "I'm finally back," Lin Sun couldn't help but feel excited. Many familiar figures involuntarily appeared in his mind, including Zhao Jingxian, Lin Fan when he was young, Uncle Zhong, and so on. Chapter 3069. In the meeting hall of the Yuanshi Dao sect, the atmosphere was extremely depressing. Zhao Jingxian, who was dressed in a jade robe and had a slender figure, sat on the central seat. Her ink-black eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Ever since they moved to this secret world, she had personally taken care of everything in the Yuanshi Dao sect and the Lin family. "Madam, don't worry. It's just a big battle. We're not afraid of the seven forces." Lin Zhong sat on the side with a calm expression and said softly, "That's right. Elder Jean Dui has already gone to invite them to fight. If they agree to the bet, this dilemma can be easily solved." Zhao Tailai said, "I'm worried that they won't agree. The opportunities in the ultimate are too great. Even the immortals will go crazy for them." Zhao Jingxian sighed. "Madam, in my opinion, the situation is not that serious. Even if the seven forces really come to us, we still have a way out." Ahu's voice was gentle. "If we abandon this place, it's equivalent to abandoning the legacy of my husband's sect. If he comes back, he might not blame us, but he will definitely feel terrible," Zhao Jingxian said as her eyes swept across the hall. She glanced at Lin Zhong, Ahu, Lin Huayuan, Lin Xiafeng and the other high-level figures of the Yuanshi Dao sect. Her heart became heavier. "Ahu, have the people of the sect been settled?" she asked. Zhao Jingxian had asked this question more than once in the past 2 days. However, Ahu understood her feelings very well. He smiled and nodded. "I've already settled everyone according to Madam's instructions." Zhao Jingxian thought and said, "All right, then we'll wait for old Jean to come back and make a decision." Suddenly, a wave of clamor sounded out from outside the hall, and it seemed to be very noisy. "Who's making noise outside?" Zhao Jingxian was a little displeased. "Jingxian, it's me." A voice sounded outside the hall. Suddenly, everyone in the hall was stunned. This voice, it's so familiar. Zhao Jingxian suddenly stood up. Her clear and beautiful face was filled with disbelief. How could she forget the voice that haunted her dreams? However, it was like a dream. She didn't dare to confirm it. After that, a tall figure walked in from outside the hall. When he walked in, all the people present stood up abruptly while undisguisable joy and surprise appeared on their faces. Lin Sun. He actually came back. At this time, Lin Sun's eyes swept the hall, and the surging emotions in his heart seemed to burst out. He showed a heartfelt smile. "I'm back." "Husband." Zhao Jingxuan's voice trembled. "Is it really you?" Previously, even when facing that incomparably vicious situation, she was still able to maintain her composure. However, at this moment, she seemed to have lost control, and her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with tears. They were tears of joy and excitement. Lin Sun went straight forward and held Zhao Jingxian tightly in his arms. Smelling her familiar body fragrance, Lin Sun felt calm, steady and satisfied. "Jingxian, I've made you suffer all these years," he said softly. Zhao Jingxian put her head on Lin's shoulder and said softly, "I don't feel wronged at all. As long as you are well, I will be at ease." When the others in the hall saw this, they sensibly left first. In the main hall, there was only a couple who had reunited after a long time. On that day, the news of Lin Sun's return spread throughout the secret world of Kor. The entire primeval Taoist sect was in an uproar, and all the members of the Lin family cheered excitedly. This was especially so when they learned that the seven forces stationed outside the ultimate had been suppressed. The entire secret world of Kor was filled with cheers and laughter. For several years, they had been guarding this place, and had been attacked by many foreign forces covetously. If it was not for the protection of the secret world of Kor, they would not have been able to last until now. Just like today when it was a matter of life and death. However, no one expected that Lin Sun, who was far away in the eternal true world, would return today and wipe out the seven forces in one fell swoop, completely resolving the disaster. Gradually, more and more figures gathered outside the assembly hall, and all of them were waiting. These figures included members of the Lin family, such as Lin Huayuan, Lin Xiefeng, and so on. There were also disciples and successors recruited by the primeval Taoist sect over the years, as well as many friends that Lin Sun had made in the past. There were people like Yu Beidu Chufeng, and the others from the commune of spirit tattooists of Xiao Empire, the instructors of Green Deer Academy, Gu Yanping and Gu Liang of Golden Hall, Shi Yu of Keystone Business, Shi Linlang and his daughter, and so on. When Lin Sun had established the primeval Taoist sect, he had taken the meaning of a new beginning, a new beginning. When the sect was first established, he had taken in all the members of the Lin family and his friends. More than 100 years had passed, and there were many new faces in the primeval Taoist sect. At that moment, there were already thousands of people gathered together. At that moment, they were all waiting in front of the conference hall, their emotions surging. Those friends who were familiar with Lin Sun had not seen him for a long time. When they learned that he had returned, they had rushed over immediately. Most of the new faces that had joined the primeval Tao sect had never seen Lin Sun's true appearance before, but they had heard too many legends related to Lin Sun. At this moment, they were so excited that their eyes lit up, and their expressions were filled with anticipation. They were like the expressions of believers who were about to go on a pilgrimage. Old Toad, Alu, Ahu, Little Silver, and Little Tian were also present. When they saw the scene in front of them, they couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Back then, when they roamed the world with Lin Sun, who would have thought that there would be such a scene today? Time passed bit by bit. Very quickly, under everyone's gazes, a man and a woman walked out of the conference hall. The man was dressed in a moon-white robe, and he was handsome and otherworldly. The woman was dressed in a jade robe, and she was bright and beautiful. It was Lin Sun and Zhao Jingxian. As soon as they appeared, a thunderous roar instantly erupted in the surroundings. "Greetings, Patriarch!" The disciples of the primeval Taoist sect all bowed, their voices resounding through the clouds. "Greetings, Patriarch!" All the clansmen of the Lin family also bowed solemnly. As for his old friends like Shi Yu and Gu Yanping, they all smiled and cupped their hands from afar. Standing on the high steps, Lin Sun's gaze swept across the entire audience. Looking at the familiar faces, his heart was unable to calm down. He still remembered that when he was young, he trekked alone in the innumerable mountains and walked out of Feiyun village. At that time, he had never thought that there would be such a day. Taking a deep breath, Lin Sun said with a smile, "Today, I've come back and I'm very happy to see you all safe and sound. I don't want to say anything else. Why don't you all stay here and have a drink together?" "Good!" There was a roar of applause in the audience. The sound spread between heaven and earth. Zhao Jingxian looked at Lin Sun's side face quietly, her eyes full of tenderness and pride. This was her man. In the distance, Jin Tian Xianyue looked at Zhao Jingxian, who stood side by side with Lin Sun, with a trace of imperceptible envy in her eyes. Admiration flashed through her eyes. She couldn't help but look at her side again. Xia Ji was eating melon seeds as if there was no one else around. She was as quiet as ever, as if she didn't care about all this at all. In next to no time, the curtains to a banquet were drawn before the meeting hall. Dense rows of tables were spread out far away, and all sorts of fine wine and delicacies were served up like flowing water. The atmosphere was cheerful and harmonious, and everyone's expression was filled with joy. Lin Sun held the wine jar and began to toast them one by one. "Patriarch, this is my great-grandson." Lin Xiefeng held a child's hand and said with a smile. He was Lin Sun's elder brother, but now he even had a great-grandson. Lin Sun smiled and clinked glasses with him. "Brother Lin, it's good to see you back." Shi Yu smiled and raised his glass. Shi Linlang said, "Uncle Lin, I still remember you. You're exactly the same as before. You haven't changed at all." Lin Sun was surprised. "It's you, little girl." At that time, Shi Linlang was just a child, but now she had grown into a dazzling beauty. Shi Linlang blinked her eyes. Uncle Lin, I'm more than 100 years old. I'm not young anymore. Lin Sun, and sure you couldn't help laughing. Next, Lin Sun met Yu Beidu Chu Feng, Gu Yanping, Gu Liang, and other good friends he made when he was young. They drank and talked with each other, and all sighed with emotion. When Lin Sun saw Ah Hu, the latter said charmingly, "Little martial uncle, when will you take me back to meet master?" After many years, Ah Hu was still as beautiful as a cunning and smart fairy. Her eyebrows and eyes were extremely beautiful, and her smile was charming. "When I leave this time, I will take everyone with me," Lin Sun said with a smile. When he came to Lin Zhong, Lin Sun held Lin Zhong's shoulder tightly and said, "Grandad Zhong, I have found my parents. You will meet them in the future." When he entered the Forbidden City for the first time at the age of 14 or 15, Lin Zhong had been serving him loyally. In Lin Sun's heart, Grandad Zhong was no different from his father. Lin Zhong also smiled excitedly and said, "Young master, I have been looking forward to this day for a long time. Grandmaster, we toast you." When Lin Sun's figure came to those descendants of Yuan Shi Taoism sect, they all raised their glasses with excitement and joy. Their eyes were full of admiration and fanaticism. Lin Sun smiled and drank with them. The banquet didn't come to an end until late at night. It was the first day Lin Sun came back. Although they had many things to talk to him about, they chose not to disturb him. Xia Ji was the only one who didn't seem to notice Lin Sun's presence. Zhao Jingxian knew Xia Ji the best, so she was not surprised. She smiled and accompanied her. The night was as dark as ink and the wind was gentle. Lin Sun, Zhao Jingxian, and Xia Ji walked towards the core ruins. Zhao Jingxian had once told him that a mysterious lotus pond had appeared in the core ruins 10 years ago when the endless ruins had undergone a drastic change. The pond contained an astonishing amount of chaos origin energy, and anyone who cultivated in it would receive immeasurable benefit. Their son Lin Fan also started his closed-door cultivation at that time, and it had been 10 years since then. Before his closed-door cultivation, Lin Fan was already a peerless figure who had stepped into the peak of the 8th level. His talent was high, his physique was excellent, and his foundation was strong. Even in the whole starry ancient path, he could be called a peerless genius. He was also known as invincible among his peers. More updates tonight. Chapter 3070. The Core Ruins. When Lin Sun first came to the ruins of End when he was young, it was here that he obtained the inheritance of the Tao left behind by his master, the master of the Core Ruins. It was also here that he fought a group of experts by himself and finally seized the inheritance of the Battle Saint technique left behind by his eldest senior brother. Later on, when Lin Sun came here for the second time, he defeated his fourth senior brother Ling Xuanzi in a bet and brought Ling Xuanzi away from being suppressed for countless years. Now, it was Lin Sun's third time coming to the core ruins. But compared to the past, this place was completely different. The scene of the collapsed entrance and ruins had vanished a long time ago. A myriad of divine lights and auspicious lights surged and enveloped this place, and it carried a divine and solemn aura. Every single blade of grass and tree here surged with the unique aura of the Grand Tao, and walking here was like walking in the abode of the gods. This place had obviously been repaired. The mountain path was wide, and there were green bamboo and pine trees planted along the path. There were old herbs that took root and emanated auspicious lights, and they seemed to be competing with each other in beauty. Occasionally, there were white deer holding Ganoderma in their mouths and spirit monkeys holding peaches in their hand. The mountain was suffused with clouds and mist while waterfalls and springs flowed. Everywhere one looked was enshrouded in the glow of the Grand Tao, and it caused one's mind to become tranquil and ethereal. A very long time ago, the master of the core ruins had once passed down his teachings here. All the disciples of Mount Kor had once cultivated here, and the golden cicada had once listened to the Grand Tao for 20 years. Even though Lin Sun had never seen such a scene, he couldn't help but be fascinated when he thought about it now. There were 50 grand daos and 49 heavenly evolutions, and he was the 50th disciple of the core ruins. Husband, Fan is cultivating there. Zhao Jingxian pointed at the bottom of the cliff, and there was a completely round lotus pond at the bottom of the cliff. The pond had 54 petals, and half of it was clear while the other half was muddy. The pond emanated a thick and primitive aura of chaos, and it was like the scene when the world was first formed. A figure sat cross-legged on the pond, and his breathing drew upon the fluctuations of the grand Tao in the surroundings and emanated waves of rumbling that sounded like thunder. His body was ramrod straight and thin, and his eyes were closed while his aura resonated with the grand Tao and formed layer upon layer of unimaginable phenomena. There was a great abyss swallowing the sky, a true dragon roaming about, a sun, a moon, and a river of stars. That kind of scene was shocking. If one looked carefully, this was a handsome young man with angular features, a well-proportioned and slender body, and when he cultivated, his appearance was dignified and dignified. His bearing was like the bright moon in a mountain stream, and he was extraordinary and refined. In an instant, Lin Sun couldn't move his eyes away and his mind was in turmoil. After many years, the naughty child had degenerated into an elegant and extraordinary young man. He had a good balance between movement and stillness, like a breeze under a pine tree, and had his own unique disposition. Good, very good, Lin Sun murmured, feeling both guilty and joyful. As a father, he was indeed too incompetent. He did not accompany his son as he grew up, did not personally watch him progress on the path of cultivation, and did not give him any care or guidance. On one side, Zhao Jingxian smiled. When Fan was a child, he was extremely naughty and mischievous. His temper was like a runaway horse, and he often made trouble in the clan. Even the old people were bullied by him. He was simply a little devil. But as he grew up, his temperament changed. He knew how to love and sympathize with me, his mother, and he also knew how to contribute to the clan. Compared with when he was a child, he was like a different person. Her voice was soft, and her tone was full of relief and pride. Lin Sun also smiled, grabbed her soft hand and said, "It's really hard for you all these years." Zhao Jingshuan's eyes twinkled, and her voice was gentle. "Compared with the dangers and hardships you have experienced, these are nothing." As she said, she pulled her hand back and reminded softly, "Xia Ji is still here. Be careful." Lin Sun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. On one side, Xia Ji didn't seem to notice the subtle atmosphere. She looked at Lin Fan quietly under the cliff, and no one knew what she was thinking. "My husband, I'm a little worried about Fan," Zhao Jingxian suddenly said. "His talent is really amazing. At the age of 15, he had already stepped into the threshold of the peerless great emperor. His speed of advancement is so fast that it is almost shocking. He is much stronger than you at that time. At that time, I was worried that he would advance too fast and his foundation was not solid, so I suppressed his cultivation and tried to let him settle for a period of time. But even so, he would break through a realm every few years, and I couldn't suppress it at all." As she said, there was already worry between her eyebrows. If it were other people who could have such a heaven-defying child, they would definitely be overjoyed and grinning from ear to ear. But to Zhao Jingxian, Lin Fan's path of cultivation often caused her to shudder with fear. Going too far was as bad as falling short. It was not necessarily a good thing to advance too fast. When Lin Sun heard this, he also frowned slightly. With his current realm and eyesight, he naturally understood that it was not good to advance too fast or too slow. For example, Ling Xuanzi, the fourth senior brother, was known as the Peerless in history. He was a living heaven-defying monster. His talent was so outstanding that even the master of the heart core, had to suppress him for countless years. But compared with Ling Xuanzi, Lin Fan was not inferior at all, and even surpassed him. If one's cultivation was too fast, it was easy to have a weak foundation, and it was easy to have problems in the state of mind. Because every realm on the road of Tao needed the corresponding state of mind and tempering. Only in this way could a solid foundation of Tao be built. Looking at the experience of martial uncle Kong Ju and pavilion head Yen Ji, one could know how serious it was once there was a problem in the state of mind. It was true that there were no flaws in Lin Fan's current cultivation, but as his cultivation grew higher, it was easier for his state of mind to have problems when he encountered a great tribulation. Let me solve this problem. After thinking for a moment, Lin Sun made a decision. Okay. Zhao Jingxuan's whole body relaxed. In these years when Lin Sun was away, she had poured all her heart and soul into her son Lin Fan. Parents love their children, and they have far-reaching plans. How could they let their son be in danger on the road of Tao? No. Suddenly, Lin Sun raised his eyebrows. Jingxian, Fan is in seclusion here. Is he planning to break through to the immortal realm? Zhao Jingxian was stunned. Impossible. 10 years ago, he was only at the peak of the 8th level of the Emperor realm. Now, he has just reached the level of the Emperor Ancestor realm. How is it possible? Lin Sun interrupted. He has already reached the great perfection of the Emperor Ancestor realm. Now, he is clearly trying to break through the threshold of the immortal realm. With his eyesight, how could he not see Lin Fan's current state of cultivation? This caused his expression to turn slightly solemn. Zhao Jingxian was also anxious. How can this child be like this? I have already warned him not to try to break through to the immortal realm within 100 years. Why is he so anxious? Don't worry, none of this has happened yet. Lin Sun said softly. As he spoke, his eyes suddenly looked at Lin Fan, who was sitting cross-legged in the lotus pond. In an instant, Lin Fan's body shook and he opened his eyes. His chi was rolling all over his body, and he immediately looked up to the sky. Then, he saw a familiar figure that only existed in his childhood memory, and he couldn't help but be startled. Father? He stood up, and a look of disbelief appeared on his handsome face. Fan, don't just stand there. Come and greet your father. Zhao Jingxian said softly. Swish. Lin Sun flew up and came to the cliff. His eyes stared at Lin Sun, and there was a look of surprise on his face. Father, it's really you. Fan, you have grown up. Lin Sun nodded with a smile. It was strange that when he was facing his son, his inner emotions were restrained. A father's love was like a mountain, silent and unspoken. All fathers had a similar state of mind. And now, Lin Sun was experiencing this feeling. Lin Fan smiled brightly, showing his snow-white teeth. Father, I have not only grown up, I am now the ancestor of the Ju-ing Emperor. Do you remember, when you left, you were far weaker than I am now? And I have always followed your instructions all these years. I have never made you sad. Am I right, Mother? As he spoke, he winked at Zhao Jingxian. Zhao Jingxian said coldly, If you really don't want to make me sad, why are you trying to break through to the immortal realm now? Do you know how serious the consequences of doing so are? Lin Fan hummed and didn't say anything. Lin Sun said softly, Fan, you know how fast your cultivation is advancing, and you should know the consequences of trying to break through to the immortal realm now. Can you tell me why you are so impatient? Lin Fan was silent for a moment, then said, Recently, there have been many enemies outside the ultimate. Although I have been in seclusion here, how could I not know the situation outside? Father, there's something you don't know, but during these past few years, Mother has always been managing everything, and she's endured unimaginable pressure. I just want to help Mother, and I don't want to see her worry all day long. If I can't even protect Mother, then what's the point of cultivating? Zhao Jingxian, who was very angry, was stunned. Her eyes suddenly became wet, her soft heart was hit, and her emotions were uncontrollably churning. Only now did she know that Lin Fan was so impatient to break through to the immortal realm because he wanted to share her burden. He didn't want to see her suffer. Lin Sun was deeply touched, his eyes looking at Lin Fan again. The young man was dressed in white, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was extraordinarily handsome. Standing there, his well-proportioned and slender figure was already a head taller than his mother. His temperament was like the wind and the moon, upright and clean. Every move of his had a peerless elegance. After a while, Lin Sun sighed. "It's all my fault. If I had come back years ago, these things wouldn't have happened." His voice was apologetic. "How can it be your fault?" Zhao Jingxian took a deep breath and said, "You always like to take all kinds of responsibilities on yourself. You did it before and you still do it now. Don't do it again in the future." Lin Fan also said seriously, "Mother is right. I have grown up and can take charge of things by myself. Father, don't blame yourself." Hearing this, Lin Sun's heart was full of emotions. He had a lot of things to say, but they were all stuck in his throat. He didn't know what to say. At this moment, a voice that sounded like the sounds of nature suddenly rang out. "Lin Sun, I'm hungry." Xie Ji, who had been silent like an outsider, broke the atmosphere in one sentence. Lin Sun and Zhao Jingxian looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. Updates sent. Another important thing, up to this day there have been 20 updates this month. I believe everyone has seen the efforts of Goldfish in the updates. Then, there will be no updates tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, so we have to write a detailed outline in advance to prepare for the outbreak at the end of the month. Don't worry, everyone, this time it will be a big outbreak. Yes, the outbreak the day after tomorrow. Chapter 3071. Lin Sun personally barbecued the meat over the bonfire. An alluring aroma permeated the core ruins in the night. Xie Ji, Zhao Jingxian, and Lin Fan sat on the ground and enjoyed themselves. Lin Fan glanced at Xie Ji from time to time. He already knew who she was when he was young. He also knew that Aunt Xie Ji had always been by his father's side when they were young. There was no hostility, but he couldn't help but worry about his mother, Zhao Jingxian. His Aunt Xie Ji was too beautiful. She was definitely one of a kind in the world. Any other woman would pale in comparison to her. "Mother, aren't you worried?" Lin Fan couldn't help but ask. Zhao Jingxian glared at him without batting an eyelid. "You don't have the right to comment on the adults' matters. Remember, don't cause any trouble. Otherwise, I'll be the first to deal with you." Lin Fan shrugged and tactfully stopped talking about this topic. It was common for cultivators to have multiple wives and concubines. It was normal for some old men to marry many beautiful wives and concubines. Moreover, cultivators were skilled in maintaining their youthful looks and were powerful. They wouldn't care about their age. Lin Sun quickly sat down and said, "When I returned today, I captured all the experts from the 7 major forces at the entrance of the ultimate ruins. Many of them were Juetian emperor ancestors. In the following days, you will use them as your opponents to train yourself." Lin Fan was startled. He smiled. "Father, no one in the same realm is my opponent." His words were casual, but he sounded extremely confident and arrogant. In Zhao Jingxuan's eyes, Lin Fan's tone and demeanor were very similar to Lin Sun's in the past. They were both casual and calm. "You might be able to win if you fight one-on-one. What if you fight 1 against 10? Asked Lin Sun. "It's not a problem if I use my full strength." "What if you fight 1 against 100? Asked Lin Sun again. Lin Fan hesitated. "I've never encountered such a group battle before. Although I can't say I'll win, I don't think I'll lose that easily." Zhao Jingxian smiled. "Your father has always been unrivaled in the same realm. Numbers are never a problem for him." Lin Sun widened his eyes and looked at Lin Sun. "Even now?" He already knew that Lin Sun was now in existence at the transcendent realm great perfection, and was extremely powerful. Lin Sun nodded. He didn't have to hide anything in front of his children. Lin Fan was silent for a moment and then he said, "Father, I know you're worried about me breaking through too quickly, but to be frank, I can complete all of this in a very short period of time, and it won't be of any use anymore." Lin Sun nodded and said, "I understand. Combat is one thing. Next, I will temper your state of mind." Lin Fan asked with interest, "Father, what kind of training is this?" Lin Sun laughed. "You'll know when the time comes." Lin Fan also smiled, "Then I'll really wait and see." Lin Sun stretched out his hand and patted Lin Fan's shoulder. Suddenly, Lin Fan's cultivation was suppressed, which meant that he was doomed to be unable to make any progress even if he cultivated again. "This confinement will always exist until I'm satisfied." Lin Fan smiled bitterly. "Father, is there a need for this?" Lin Sun blinked his eyes and said, "I'm afraid you can't control yourself, so I have to help you." Zhao Jingxian pursed her lips and smiled. With Lin Sun around, she felt relaxed. The next day, Xian Jiuyin left the ultimate ruins with Jintian Xianyue and set off for the Xian family. Lin Sun originally wanted to go with them, but he was rejected by Xian Jiuyin. He had many trump cards gifted to him by Xian Failing. He could even fight against a transcendent realm great perfection, let alone someone in the same realm. For the next period of time, Lin Sun accompanied Zhao Jingxian and Lin Fan. In the core ruins, Lin Sun brought out the 7 major forces' great emperors, one by one, and told them that whoever could defeat his son, Lin Fan, would be allowed to leave alive. Although being reduced to a grindstone made these peak-level great emperors feel humiliated, it also ignited their fighting spirit. As a result, battles and killings took place every day in the core ruins. Unfortunately, without exception, all of the great emperors were defeated. They were no match for Lin Fan. They couldn't fight one-on-one, nor could they fight 10 against 1. When 30 of them attacked together, they could only barely withstand Lin Fan's attack. When 40 of them attacked together, Lin Sun began to feel the immense pressure. During this process, Lin Sun understood everything about Lin Fan. He knew how many people in the same realm as Lin Fan, and how many people could possibly trap Lin Fan at the moment. However, based on this situation, it wouldn't take long before Lin Fan was truly invincible in the ultimate ruins. He could ignore the number of enemies he faced. With the devouring abyss talent and the true dragon bloodline, this kid's talent is indeed a little overpowered. Lin Sun couldn't help but sigh. However, this also made Lin Sun even more determined to train Lin Fan's mental state. Half a month passed in a flash. In this half a month, through Zhao Jingshuan's mouth, Lin Sun also learned everything about the Yuanshi Taoist sect. Furthermore, he gained a deeper understanding of the sinkhole's shocking turn of events. Now, everyone believed that the shocking changes that occurred in the ultimate began 10 years ago. But according to Zhao Jingxian, as early as 20 years ago, the signs of this shocking change began to appear. Back then, there were frequent violent spatial fluctuations in the depths of the ultimate ruins. They were as dull as thunder, and then there would be surging vitality that spewed out from the depths of the ultimate ruins like a tidal wave. The vitality also contained many rare divine medicines, rare treasures and other treasures, as if they were being washed out. If the depths of the ultimate ruins were compared to the sea, the gushing vitality was like the tidal wave, and the treasures in the tidal wave were like fish, prawns, and shells that had been washed ashore. It was also at that time that Old Toad and Alu, who had already set foot on the immortal Tao path, had personally ventured into the depths of the ultimate ruins to investigate, but they had no choice but to retreat halfway. The shocking changes in the depths of the ultimate ruins were just too terrifying. The surging vitality that erupted was so powerful that they couldn't resist it. But even so, the core dimension in the ultimate ruins still obtained unimaginable benefit. Not only did the laws of heaven and earth transform, even the aura of the great Tao in the secret dimension began to increase by leaps and bounds. To the primeval Tao sect that resided within it, this was naturally a great fortune bestowed by the heavens, and every single cultivator benefited greatly from it. Until 10 years ago, when the vitality in the depths of the ultimate experienced a great explosion, causing the entire lower realm and even the entire starry ancient path to change. It was also at that time that a Tao sword filled with an eternal aura swept out from the depths of the bottomless. It caused a sensation in the world and attracted the attention of the various starry voids of the vast thousand domains. Attention from the outside. By now, countless foreign forces had gathered on the starry sky ancient path, all heading for the ultimate ruin. Anyone with a discerning eye would know that the starry sky ancient road would become completely different from before. Whoever could occupy this place would be able to enjoy the heavenly fate and obtain immeasurable benefits from this shocking change. Of course, all of this caused unrest and slaughter throughout the world. In a short period of 10 years, the flames of war raged throughout the starry sky, and countless rains of blood arose, especially near the sinkhole. On the other hand, the sword that was suffused with an eternal aura was obtained by Alu, and it fell into Zhao Jingxuan's hands in the end. As they discussed these matters, Zhao Jingxian took out the sword and handed it over to Lin Sun for him to study. The sword was 2 feet long and 4 fingers wide. Its blade was greenish-gray, and the 2 heavily corroded words, "Absolute Darkness," were carved into the hilt. It was clearly badly damaged. There were many nicks on the blade, and there were also signs of cracks on the blade. But the eternal aura that emanated from the sword was still very shocking. There was no doubt that this was a sword that belonged to an eternal realm cultivator. It had been lost in the depths of the bottomless ruin for an unknown number of years, and now, with the shocking change in the bottomless ruin, it had finally reappeared in the world. This made Lin Sun even more interested in the shocking change in the depths of the bottomless ruin. Just what could have caused such a change in the bottomless ruin when its origin power had long since dried up? Lin Sun had originally planned to leave with everyone from the primeval Tao sect and return to the eternal true world, but in the end, he decided to stay for a while longer. "Young master, someone outside the bottomless ruin wishes to see you." On this day, Lin Zhong came to the core relic to inform Lin Sun of the matter. "Who is it?" Lin Sun asked. Lin Zhong said with a strange expression, "There are many people. They are all cultivators from the great forces of the ancient path of stars. They have come to ask for your help to suppress the chaos and slaughter in the world, to return peace to the people of the world." Lin Sun was stunned. "They really think highly of me," he said. Lin Zhong said softly, "Young master, not to mention the chaos in the starry heavens, even the soul oblivion sea near the bottomless ruin has been filled with slaughter and blood. Disasters are happening everywhere. If we don't stop it, I'm afraid that more and more people will die." Lin Sun said, "Grandad Zhong wants me to help them?" Lin Zhong hurriedly shook his head. "That depends on your thoughts, young master. I just think that the billions of lives in the world are ultimately innocent. They should not be dragged into such a disaster. Once cultivators fight, they can easily destroy mountains and rivers, or even cities. Over the years, who knows how many lives in the outside world have suffered." His tone was filled with sorrow and regret. Then, he laughed self-deprecatingly. "Originally, these things have nothing to do with me. I just feel that if no one cares about the lives and deaths of the people in the world, it would be such a sad thing." Lin Sun said, "Grandad Zhong, leave this matter to me." As he said this, he got up and walked out of the core relic. He thought of the Taishan Sword Emperor, Battle Emperor Wu Yang, and the Dragon Elephant Battle Emperor. Every one of them had the ambition and boldness to help the world, and every one of them was worthy of respect and admiration. He also thought of those peerless heroes stationed on the Great Wall of the Imperial Pass all year round. In order to resist the foreign enemies of the 8 regions, they did not hesitate to fight to the death. When my Tao is proved, I know the suffering of all living beings. Lin Sun couldn't help but think of the words of Xingjia Buddha Emperor, full of compassion for the state of the universe. He also thought of the great wish made by the golden cicada youth. He hoped that all living beings in the world could become saints. All of a sudden, Lin soon felt some subtle changes in his state of mind.